Hello, all you Nether Gorgons and Gookopolis people out there and all the other ins and outs of the Big Brother multiverse. Welcome to Recipe for Reality with Zach and Dyl. Zach, my esteemed co-host, the more handsome of the half of the two halves and the better in every way of the two halves. How you doing, Zach?
You know what? It's been a week, Dyl. It's been
Yeah.
a week for me. I'm tired, a little frustrated, but we're gonna talk about some. We're gonna talk about some Big Brothers. So I am
a little frustrated
all
with
about
the
it.
world or with the Big Brother world.
Oh, not the Big Brother world. In all honesty, the Big Brother world is pretty eventful. If I'm honest with you,
Yes.
no, just frustrated a little bit overall with some things, but.
All right. Well,
that's why we're here, baby.
I'm glad we'll be sitting here for 14 hours watching these strangers hold their fingers on buttons in the dark. Just kidding. We're not going to be streaming the whole 14 hours. This could last literally like 15 more minutes, or this could last another like 15 hours. That's the whole beauty of the pressure cooker. Spoiler alert, if you're watching this live, we are watching the live feeds now. We're not going to stream it to the stream because we don't want to get copyright flagged. But if you have the live feeds, or even if you have the Twitter updates of live feeds, go turn them on because we're going to be talking about them as it goes. But we figured this would be a good time to just talk about the week itself because a lot has happened since we were in the car recapping. Last time there was a potential flip on Riley happening. Now we've gone through a whole boot of Riley, a whole Felicia HOH, and a whole Hisam blindside, including a flip-flop that happened and then didn't happen. So much so that like it feels like it was yesterday, but it has been a week and a half. And I think that's kind of where I want to start the discussion because we debated both on and off screen about are these flips and flops good? Obviously, they have not panned out. Riley didn't stay, and neither did Hisam. But both times, Riley was the collective target. A few of them kind of got together thinking to flip the vote on Cam and ultimately settled back on Riley when they decided, you know what, we can still get out Hisam without Riley. And if we get out Cam instead of Riley, Hisam's going to know something's up. And they voted out Riley, and Hisam didn't think anything was up, and that made his blindside even sweeter. Moving on to Hisam's week, Hisam gets blindsided, gets on the block, and then immediately he starts campaigning. And I'll be honest, he had a pretty convincing campaign. He almost got everyone to sway him over, but then ultimately they decided, yes, we understand what this guy's going through. We not apologize, but we forgive his apology. We see that he's learning and growing, but he's still a big threat. We got to get him out. Now, both times the argument has been, let's keep Riley to go after Hisam. In this case, let's keep Hisam because he is going to be loyal to us. Zach, I'd like to ask you, in retrospect, do you think the Riley boot was ultimately the right move in lowering Hisam's suspicion of the blindside? And do you think getting rid of Hisam was the right move this week going forward? Or do you think they should have flopped both times?
Sorry if you hear any chewing sounds, I'm finishing up dinner. It is the recipe. We did used to say that we were going to eat while we did this, and now we don't.
Never mind. You did not get I pulled my thing out. She said.
So, we discussed this a little bit. Do we think that Riley going was the best for their game? Do I think that they should have flopped? Personally, I do think that they should have flopped that week, and I'm going to tell you why. I think this Hisam was blindside was so sweet. It was beautiful. It was awesome.
Great TV, just in general. Like, regardless of who Hisam is and his gameplay, it was just a great thing to see unfold. You know.
Now, in terms of gameplay, right? So, the first thing above everything else, and you and I, Dylan, we sort of discussed this with a friend of ours, Andre. You know, I think that in terms of great TV, seeing Riley kind of go following her flop of an HOH week, it's poetic. It's sort of kind of like what we've seen with the most recent Big Brother seasons. It's all kind of more of the same. And though it's good for the house, it's not in my personal opinion, it wasn't great for that side of the house, right? Because Hisam, yes, is just one person. With Riley, and I believe I spoke about this the last time, with Riley comes Jag, Matt. You already had Jared, but they don't know that. Like, they don't.
It makes it easier to work with Jared without having to use him as an under-the-radar spy, yeah.
And so I still maintain the fact that using Riley to their advantage and kind of building this holistic majority against the Cam, Red, Heisem. I'm trying to think of who's on the other kind of floppity flop side of that. Even like America, Nicole, like there would be some non-believers, and I think it actually would have divided the house even further. That we'd be seeing like a 3 sides of the house kind of developing. It would be very cool, very interesting. And the thing about it is, when you have Riley, right, and this is sort of what we've learned through this week, having Riley meant that you were going to have someone who was good at competitions. We had discussed how like this this is the week to take a shot at Heisem. There was no one on. He didn't play in the veto. He couldn't have played in the HOH. If they didn't take the shot this week, they never were going to be able to again. That being said, the only thing that I can foresee me having voted out Riley still be a good move is that we very clearly saw how good Heisem is at speaking and empathizing with people, and given enough time to convince a separate side of the house to kind of stick with him. You know, we might not see his blind side this week. We might not see his vote out this week, which would have been even more exciting. I'm happy with the turnout because I think that given the way how everything occurred, this was the natural kind of series of events that makes for the best television.
Yeah, I think it led to the right move. I think if Riley stays, Heisem is immediately like, what the hell is happening? And that's kind of the blind side. And I think if that's the blind side, that's still epic TV, but then we don't get this whole blind side. And I think the fact that Heisem, his plan worked to get out Riley, made him feel even more secure to where he tells Felicia and all these other people, don't pick me for veto. I don't want to win. It's your turn to win comps, people. And I think that also made me feel better to see Felicia, of all people, win that HOH, because now it's saying, oh, okay, we didn't need Riley. You know, Felicia was able to do it. Jag was able to win the veto. You know, like, it's reassuring to know that Riley was not the only other person who could compete in comps. Now, the question becomes, who's going to be the threat? Because Felicia, that comp, she won, but it was also... it's the rolling the ball into the number. You know, it's kind of a luck thing. And Jag with the goo was great, but that's, again, veto's only 6 people. So I'm really interested to see, and even pressure cooker here, like what we're watching, this takes no athletic skill. Suri, probably the least athletic of this group,
can win this.
America, who's very small, Corey's very small, could win. Red and Cameron, these bigger guys, can win it too. Matt, we'll talk about Matt because I think I want to have a big discussion about Matt in general because of just everything that's been happening in the past few weeks with his disability. But I just think this is such an even playing field to where really Riley, keeping her around would have been a number in terms of like someone who is without a doubt going after Heisem rather than someone who's just going to win all the competitions. Because I really don't think Riley would have won all the competitions. She wasn't in the top 3 for the record-scratching audio one. So, like, it's clear that Riley was not the Heisem of the other side. It's just she happened to win that first comp, which is why people viewed her that way. So, ultimately, I think I'm in the camp of it was the right move to send her packing because now, essentially, you have Matt and Jag and Blue still mad at Heisem, wanting to get him out for revenge. But now Heisem's guard is still down. Now, moving on to this week, Heisem, again, Felicia wins, puts up Jag and Cameron. Again, poor Cameron on the block every week, except not poor Cameron because we who watch the feeds know he's kind of a slime ball. But those on the show are probably like, this guy can't catch a break. Put him on the block with the only person who doesn't know about Heisem's blindside being Red. And we see this whole big thing about how Cameron tells Red to try to win some favor and how Red is now testing Felicia. And this is kind of the first break of the professors we saw even before Heisem. We all knew Heisem was probably the backdoor target, but now we see Red and Cameron kind of breaking off. Cameron breaking away from Blue, Jag, and America, and Corey that side, and Red kind of breaking away from Suri, Felicia, and Izzy, and them just kind of being their own 2 rogue warriors, which is going to be really big for this next week, considering the 2 of them are kind of the house targets now because they're kind of not connected to anyone else because of this. Because Red feels like he's on the outs of the professors. Cameron feels like he's on the outs of the handful, which is true. They are. And they are, I'll give them the credit. They clocked it. They figured it out. So now the question becomes this pressure cooker. Heisem goes out on the blind side, obviously great TV. Heisem goes out unanimously. There was a talk of a flip only because I think he was just very convincing and they actually did genuinely feel bad. But ultimately, if you think about it, sure, he'll be loyal to you, but also he's still a really good player. And I think, yes, he would be loyal to them, but how much would he go out of his way to win the comps and to, he's still going to put himself first. And I do believe he'd be genuine to Suri, Felicia, and Izzy if they kept him. Like, I truly did believe him when he said that. Him campaigning, I did fully believe it. But still, he's still such a big competitor. And like you said, he's going to win more comps if he tries. And I think now that he's been blindsided, if he were to stay, he would try. Like, he would probably win this pressure cooker. Like, he's going to be great on the season 3 of the challenge, because that's all challenge.
Yes.
And there's strategy involved, but it really is about strengthening your teams or your individuals. And I just really think this is the game where Hisam being so strong, like, I think he'd be a great fit on Survivor even, because I think the game moves so fast that, like, if his name was put up as a blind side, he could immediately alter it. Whereas Big Brother, he did immediately alter it, but then enough time was given to where it altered back. You know what I mean?
Well, and he also, the biggest thing with Hisam is not that he's great at competitions. It wasn't the fact that he was great. He was very good at competitions, but the problem with him being good at competitions is that he felt so safe and secure that he felt as though, and I agree with you. I actually think on a Survivor, Hisam probably does a lot better, mainly because it's a group mentality towards the beginning of that game. You want strong, you want consistent challenge winner. Like, you want to keep your tribe strong, because the stronger your tribe is, the less you go to tribal, the less likely you are to get voted out. And in Big Brother, and I do think that is initially, and I know we talk about it a little bit, but I think that's initially also why, like, someone like Suri is drawn to Hisam. She sees how good he is at competitions. She sees a strong competitor, and because she sees a strong competitor, she thinks, oh, strength, I need that. We need to keep each other safe.
And a shield.
However, the problem is in a game like this, when you have, and again, this is that she's realizing there's too much time in between the veto ceremony and the nomination, and the eviction. There's too much time for things to go wrong. And because there's too much time for things to go wrong, you can't keep someone who's that strong and that kind of explosive and erratic around for that long, because then by the time you get to jury, when the kind of everything is every man for himself, you're never going to be able to get rid of that. You're never going to be able to get rid of that, as long because he can just keep winning HOH into veto, into HOH, into veto, into veto.
It's the Rachel Riley, it's Janelle. Janelle lost in the end, but like Rachel Riley in 12, I mean, like if Danielle and Kalia have more power that season, Rachel probably goes out earlier. We saw Brendan kind of go before her because he was her shield, but Rachel had to win those HOHs and vetoes to get all the way to the end. And I think we've seen that with other players too. I mean, even kind of Mickey to an extent, like Nicole and Cliff, if they win an HOH or whatever, they're sitting pretty, they're the jury threats. Mickey's not a jury threat. He just beats his way to the end with competitions. And I just think that's an interesting game. And then you look at someone like Tyler or like Cody Calafiore, and you have to give them a little more respect because they're comp beasts, but they're comp beasts that when they win a lot in the beginning, instead of making a target, they are able to still have a good enough social game to where they are the guys that people want to work with because they're strong, but not get out because they're too strong. And I think that's something that I give them more credit for now, because seeing now Riley and Hisam getting targeted because they're strong and threatening, I should say, like that is ultimately because they didn't have the social game to back it up. Hisam was condescending toward people. And again, Hisam was loyal. Hisam wasn't going to flip on the professors. They just didn't like the way he talked to them. And that could sometimes boil down to just social game, not necessarily bad gameplay, because he wasn't lying to them. He was honest to them. Yeah. He was going after Riley. He was very open book, very upfront, but it was the way he said it. Whereas Riley, I feel like, was way too willing as well, giving out Hisam's name. Like, she was honest too. I think that's the thing, is they don't have the social game to protect themselves to back up that physical game, whereas like someone like Cody or Tyler had that. Even someone like a Paul, who didn't win every competition, but Paul had that ability to still, have people come to them even though they were a big threat. And I think that's honestly what we're seeing with Suri. And I know me and you have talked privately. Is Suri playing the best optimal game for Suri or not? I argued that she's just getting her adjusted because Survivor is such a fast game, Big Brother such a slow game. She, in her mind, Survivor game, explore all the options. And her way of exploring all the options is, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? And I think Big Brother live feeders perceive that as, oh my God, she's going crazy. No, I think she was just talking out the options.
And I know at
the end of the week, she's still level-headed and still settles back on the target. But her survivor brain's thinking, I still need to exercise all options. The only thing is, the Big Brother way, do you vocalize it? And I think that's the question. I think she's, though, growing even just this week. Since we talked at that birthday party, we had a little bit of a heated discussion whether she's been a good Big Brother player or not. I think this week has shown it, because now looking at the way the alliances are set up, the only ones who the house is kind of against Cameron and Red, but essentially there are still like the few who were together, like Izzy, Felicia, Mecole, Bowie. Then you have the people who were like, you know, Matt, Jag, Blue, and then you have like Jared kind of in the middle, Corey in the middle, America. But you know who's in every single alliance, even with Red and Cameron? Cirie. And you know who no one else is thinking of as a target for next week? Cirie. So obviously, even though she's throwing out these names as flip, 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 it's still not taking heat. And I think that's just a testament for a social and strategic game.
Now,
so it's
the thing is,
fun to watch.
We can't talk Cirie though without talking Jared. And Jared is if Cirie has adapted to the game of Big Brother and has started to become sort of this savvy, very well-rounded player.
Yeah, she's the Tyler Crispin of the season. She's final twos with everyone.
Jared is the opposite of that. Jared is his Sam. Well, and Jared has somehow taken his like very well positioned placement in the game and found ways to like kind of fuck around with it. Pardon my saying such French. I don't think it really matters. I more mean my profanity, Dylan.
I mean, Zach, Zach, I know you're colorblind, but you could probably tell me the color of your shirt, right?
I mean, it's blue. I get it.
That is the problem, and I'll tell you right now, I like blue. I really do have enjoyed blue. This week, though, I kind of turned on blue because I think blue is using this as, hey, I'm in this house and like it's a good looking guy, whatever. But also I think blue's looking at it a little strategically. Jared, however, is not looking at it strategically.
No.
How he can get his thingamajig wet in the Big Brother house. And I think that's kind of, or Richard, the nickname for Richard, if you will.
I understand. I understand, Dylan. But I agree. I think that what we're seeing, and it's very exciting. And the thing is, if there's no Cirie, then Blue's probably the biggest mastermind right now because she's got Jared kind of in her corner in her pocket. She knows it. She's utilizing her strategy right now is keep him tethered. Keep him there, make sure that he's, enjoying. And it's funny, again, I've told you this, I've grown on America in the last couple of weeks. I think she's a better player than I was going to give her credit for. And to her credit, I still will see kind of as the weeks continue. Yeah. I think the biggest thing with her is that she, who normally would be the biggest personality in the room, has had the ability to scale back because of the situations with Riley and Heisem and this kind of like situation with Cam and Red and firing back and forth at each other. She is on the radar of Cirie. She's on the radar of Felicia. They have her kind of in their sights. But the good news is I don't think even if one of them wins, we see her necessarily go home this week. Right now, they understand how valuable someone like Corey is. And Corey and America kind of come together as a package right now. Yeah. And they know that.
Potential showmance, maybe? I don't think, because I think Corey and America are good enough super fans to know that's not a good idea. But I would love to see a Claire and Derek type thing out of the house because they are cute. Mad cute.
Well, and I do think that like the good thing is they and everyone else is kind of pushing it for them. Everyone else is kind of like, you guys are cute. You guys are cute, and they are level-headed enough to say like, I'm not trying anything. And because they are saying that, what they're also doing is they're keeping targets off of them. You always go after a showmance, and people are noticing Blue and Jared's situationship or whatever you want to call it. They're starting, especially Cirie. Cirie has started to like laser focus, Mama Bear it up for that. And it's awesome, but it's going to start putting someone like Blue in the crossfire if she and the only thing that's good is that she has Jared kind of still saying like, we're not getting rid of her. Like, I don't want her gone.
And in one retrospect, like Cirie's like, that's sloppy, Jared. Don't let that ruin your game. But also, essentially, Jared still is going to tell his mom, I don't want her to go though. I like her.
Right.
And I think she wouldn't want to cross her son like that, because
No.
I don't think Jared would ever be like, well, F you, mom, I'm voting you out. But you don't want to cause a rift with your kid. If that's your final
No.
two, and like that's your goal is to get to the end with Jared, like she might have to string along Blue too. But I honestly think, yeah, if that's Blue's game, then that's smart. What I think is just so fun. I mean, I love just the shot of them on the hammock, and then it pans over to Suri. Like the camera literally panned. It was perfect, and the music, like it's entertaining TV. Like never before have you seen this, where like I mean a little bit with Dick and Danielle, but like having
but not
Dick
really.
and Danielle weren't as close either. You know, like
Right.
it was like this is like her little boy having a relation on the hammock, and it's just so funny to watch, because like I bet all the moms watching totally get what Cerise's mindset, and all the young, all the sons watching. Like, if I was in the Big Brother house, and my mom was sitting all the way over by the pool and the hot tub, and I wanted to like schmooze this beautiful lady on a hammock, like I wouldn't want my mom sitting all the way over there watching like a hawk. And it's funny, especially being a Cerie fan. I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. You know, I really have enjoyed that dynamic just from an entertainment standpoint.
Right.
But we do really quickly have to talk about Jared, though, because he is kind of led on this kind of idea to Blue. Hey, guess what?
I have a secret. And what have I been saying, Dylan? What have I? And it gets closer and closer and
every
closer.
Every time you hit the tennis ball, I'm going to volley it back, because this is where I think Blue is the perfect person to get a showmance to. And we saw it even today when they announced the pressure comp. She's like, what is the pressure cooker? All these questions. She's like, wait, how long did it go? 14 hours? What? All this stuff. She's never watched a show before. So in her brain,
that's okay.
She's not.
You don't need
two and two together. That is even a possibility that his mom's in the house. The only way she would ever catch on is if he's like, wouldn't it be wild if Cerie's son was in the house? Or wouldn't it be wild if my mom was here?
But you're right. Not yet. Not yet, man. And this is the thing, is that like, and that this is one of those. I'll give the casting department the credit they deserve if this is what happens. They see Jared, and they see someone who is, not like, oh, he's impressionable, but like he's definitely like, he's looking for something to talk about. And my worry for him, and it's been my worry for Suri the entire time, is what happens the day he slips up? What happens the day, someone hears them at the wrong time? What happens the day, and the good thing for both of them is everyone who's walked out says they've been doing a great job at hiding it, and which is very impressive. And he's like, oh, it's so obvious. Like,
once you see it, though.
Right, of course. But the thing is, as they spend more and more time together, and not like they being Suri and Jared, but as they all start to keep spending more and more time together, and as they kind of start to, grow in levels of comfort, my worry again, and it wouldn't be if I didn't see it already happening. My worry then becomes, what happens when they get too comfortable and Jared just lets it slip? And it will never be Suri. It never will be. I cannot imagine a world where Suri lets this go.
I think Izzy can't wait for the finale. Izzy wants her Derek is a cop moment at the finale to be like, guess what, guys? She won't even, if she makes the jury, I doubt she even tells the other jurors.
No, I don't think she will. I don't think unless, and they won't tell the jurors, because there's just no way.
They won't. Felicia's in the kitchen. I got to change my stream. They keep
she was in the kitchen a lot. Dylan, while we're at the 24-minute mark, we do, and just for the viewers at home, we did offer up to our friends, like if anyone wanted to come and chat and talk, I offered it up to a couple of Big Brother fans.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if we might be able to invite that fan in to talk a little bit about it. Sure. Dylan, you know them. You've seen them only in unfortunately a couple of like high intensity based situations. And they will be here. I mean, I sent that link to them, and they should be here shortly. But we can continue talking while they're on their way.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say one last thing about Jared and Blue. I think a lot of the thing is Jared in the real world. I bet my mom was on Survivor is his pickup line, and I think that is what's so hard for him in this game is that every time he wants to drop his line on of, oh, you know who my mom is. He can't do that here. This is the one time where that can't be the pickup line. So when he isn't left with that, it's like, oh shit, I have nothing else to say. It's literally like, oh, yeah, like I don't have a pickup line now. And I think that's why he's giving so many people the ick, the live feeders, because he's like, he doesn't know how to make small talk that isn't, hey, guess who my mom is. And I think
Well,
that's been an interesting test for him, but it's also what's led to a lot of sloppy and quite icky comments. Not like problematic comments in the sense of like Luke needing to be removed, but it's like it's problematic at the extent of like, ew, you know?
well, and the thing is, it's and you have to equate it to something. So I'm going to equate it to, when you're like looking forward to something, it's that like you're looking, let's say it's like at the end of the week, you're heading to like, you're going to like Disney, right? So you're going to Disney and at the end of the week, you're going to be there. So in all of your conversations that week, what comes up?
Oh, you
What
asking
comes up?
me?
Yeah. What comes
Disney.
up? The fact that you're going to Disney, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Now imagine, right? Now imagine that let's say like you're taking your partner or like a sibling to Disney as a surprise, and it's the week of, and all you want to do is tell them about it, but you can't. What's constantly on your mind? That. So Jared exists in that realm of like he can't.
Yeah.
Like Serene knows because she's been around the block enough times in these games to say like, yes, it's exciting. Yes, it's my son. I don't really care about that. We're not going to get there if someone says something. He's not in this situation enough to know like what the pressure is like.
Well,
so he is in this realm of like, I just want to talk. I just want to tell.
Well,
it's probably consuming his mind so much that like he's got someone he feels, because what he hasn't had outside of Izzy, who knows because she immediately caught it. He doesn't have anyone to reminisce, like to talk about it and get excited with. And as he gets closer to Blue, it's like making a best friend. Like, and in this house, that's kind of what you have to have. And while I love Izzy and Jared, the problem is Izzy only ever really wants to talk game and never really wants to talk about anything else with Jared. And so I'm sure if him and Izzy could talk all the time about everything, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But Jared's biggest thing seems to me at least, it seems like he wants someone to be able to talk to about everything and not worry about the game as much with them.
When you've got a secret, that is what you want to share it. Yeah.
Right.
Even if, like the Disney World comparison is great, but it's like, even like in that case, people might know you're going to Disney, but like, imagine if you were going on like Big Brother or Survivor, like that's something you can't tell people, but you really would want to, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where like, he probably just wants to tell all the people in the world, like, how cool is this? Especially when it is probably his pickup line in real life to get the girls is like, guess what? My mom is on Survivor. But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Cause I really think this could be a very interesting circumstance. My sister just texted me asking, I'm confused. Is lighting like that for them too? Or is it completely pitch black? It is pitch black.
It's fully pitch black
and
for
I think
them.
We're going to transition to the pressure cooker a little bit, and we'll kind of talk about each person's position in the game too. But just as we stall for time while this still goes on, it's very interesting to see them play the pressure cooker, but in complete and utter darkness. We do have our guests though, Zach. They did pop into the backstage.
Are they here?
All right,
you
introduce them, Zach. Of course.
All right, so we here on the Dill Pickle Movie Network, especially in Recipe for Reality, as we talk too much about how we want to be on these reality shows ourselves, Dylan and myself, we very much enjoy kind of throwing ourselves into a new community as of just like 6 months ago, really. And it started with
for me as of like two weeks ago.
And it is the world of online reality games orgs played through Facebook or Skype or Instagram. And, I've played in 3 of these, 2 in the same org, one in a separate one. And Dylan is currently in an org at this very moment. He is in an org called Survivor Lights, Camera, Action, which you can find on Facebook. I'm sure this person will be proud to plug it when he gets in here. But we're going to talk to one of my favorite people I've ever gotten to work with in these orgs, someone who looks almost so similar to Dylan and I. It's scary. We are looking at Austin. I'm gonna say if I don't look at your name, I'm gonna say them in the wrong order. So this is my good friend Austin Ronald Scott Wilson, who is currently one of the hosts of Dylan's org that he's playing in right now, Survivor Lights Camera Action. Austin, hello, my friend.
Hello.
Austin.
Hello, guys.
I'm
oh
so
my gosh,
excited.
I don't know. I feel like even looking at it now, like it's like a combination of the two of you is me. It's great. Oh,
wait. I'm trying to get a layout where we're all
put it back.
in.
Put it back. Put it back in that one that it was just in. Put it in the one that it was just in.
I don't even know what I clicked. I'm just trying to find a way to get
Whatever.
this banner so you can see Austin's name.
So
okay. I'll just put Austin up there so you can see Austin's name. There we go.
Perfect.
I also put on a Big Brother shirt for the occasion.
Yeah.
What does that say?
What does it say? Eat, sleep, Big Brother.
Oh, it's beautiful. How the hell did you find that? Austin, we are welcome to Recipe for Reality, my friend.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
We're all on the East Coast right here. Austin's chilling out. I'm not going to say where he lives unless he wants to say where he lives. They all know where we live.
East Coast.
They live on the East Coast. Austin, we've been doing some weekly recaps, but obviously since this is your first time on, obviously you can always tell them a little bit about yourself. But then after you do that and kind of like who you are and why you love these shows, tell us your thoughts on kind of like where the people in the game stand at right now. What are you thinking? Yeah. What are your thoughts on the last? What are we on week 3? Who your winner pick is? We've said our winner picks in a previous video. We won't tell you who we said though.
Okay.
And before you know, it was before Suri was officially on the cast. So our winner picks are a little different.
Suri's my asterisk winner pick. But I have an OG.
Of course. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Austin. East Coast. I'm in Maryland. I'll narrow it down that much at least. Yeah, I've been watching all these reality shows, Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race, you name it, for as long as I can remember. Like I have memories of like being in elementary school talking about like Rupert on Survivor, things like that. And yeah, talking about the org world, I host Survivor Lights Camera Action, which Dylan's currently playing. I myself have played 12 games in the past like 2-3 years.
He met his fiance playing.
I met my fiance playing. Yeah,
I didn't even know that. That's so
yes,
cute.
that's how me and Ingrid met, was playing a game. I've played more than 12 like in general, but like 12 long form games via Facebook. But I started my org world back in 2014. I used to play Twitter orgs. Or I guess now do we call them X orgs? I don't know.
Listen, I'm not changing.
There's still Twitter.
Yeah,
there's still Twitter.
Yeah, they were Twitter back then, so they're still Twitter games. But yeah, so yeah, and then like I said, I host Survivor Lights Camera Action. I also host Survivor Fan Jury Games, which is also another org on Facebook that I'll plug. But yeah, as far as this season goes, it's hard. It's like I've been following a lot specifically on Twitter, and it's fun to watch like Survivor players tweet about it, and they're like, now you guys know what Survivor is like because Suri is bringing the craziness of Survivor into Big Brother, of the plan concept. Like Survivor for the past like 4 seasons has been very much like, I mean, you could even argue like since season 16, it's been very much like there's one alliance. That one alliance just steamrolls the house. And it's boring.
That sounds familiar, Austin.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know anything about that. We've never done that.
No, never.
We've never done that.
But it's like a similar thing is kind of happening, but because Suri's Survivor brain is playing Big Brother, she makes it 1,000 times more complicated than Big Brother's been in the past, like almost 10 seasons. And I don't know if that's necessarily it's definitely for the better entertainment wise. Whether it's for the better or worse gameplay wise for her, I don't know. Like, oh god, hold on, I have the competition on the TV.
Yeah,
and they're on the
music. Got really loud.
Just becomes blaring music every time. They'll be right back. Yeah.
But so specifically with this past week with the decision to get rid of Heisem, I don't know that I support it. Like, look, Heisem was a little irritating. Like, I don't approve of like Heisem's methods or the way he talked to people, but especially with tonight's episode, like I do believe Heisem genuinely didn't know that he was coming across that way, and I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it was in Saria Felicia's best interest to make this move this week. It definitely set them up in a few more alliances than they had, to where they are hopefully still covered regardless of whoever wins the HOH. But keeping Heisem kept a target that the other side was always going to go for, and he was never going to come for them, and he has the ability to win any competition you throw at him.
Yeah,
so,
he probably would have won this one, honestly.
He could have. I mean, I think anyone
yes.
can win this competition.
Right.
But like this is truly, and this is why I think people have been wanting it to come back for so long, is it's an equalized challenge. It's hold your hand on a button. And this season it's even easier than I think in Big Brother 6, in my opinion. Like, yeah, the darkness I think adds a element of difficulty the original didn't. But the original, if you remember, it's like a button. Like it was like this big.
Yeah,
that button was tiny. It was had.
They have their whole hands now.
They have a buzzer that they're holding down this time. Right. So I think there's elements to this one that's easier, elements that are harder. But I definitely think it's a equal playing field.
Do we know how much they're doing in terms of the scary stuff? I might have zoned out or tuned out. Like,
I think what just happened is that someone just came in to scare someone. I think that's why we're on the feeds, because I saw I saw movement, very little out of the corner of my eye. I could very well be wrong. I've been wrong many a time in the past.
Well, because they're in complete darkness, and like if they just suddenly randomly like start flashing the lights, like you could lose a lot of people at once. And Austin, I don't remember in BB6, did they throw things into the pressure cooker to like tempt them to drop out? Like, didn't they have like mosquitoes or something?
So they had. I literally just watched this last night. I watched the BB6 one last night because me and Ingrid had a friend over who has never seen Big Brother.
Oh, okay, cool.
He hated last night's episode. Don't know that we're ever getting him to watch it. He watched it last season of Survivor. He watched the whole. He came over every week and watched it with us. It was his first season of Survivor ever. Great season to start with, I will say, with 44.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good first season.
Worse. You could have started watching during 41.
43.
Do that.
Oh, see, 43 I think would be even
43
worse.
Would have been worse. Listen, man, I started watching with 41 on Survivor, and my first Big Brother season was Big Brother 19.
Yeah, you've had
that was my first.
How are you still
season.
Watching either of these shows?
So, Austin, just to give you my background in literally like 30 seconds, when Rachel, my wife, and I started dating, her family does a Big Brother pool every summer, and I had never watched. Dylan had been watching for years, and he told me I should watch, and our friend at the time told me I should watch, and I was like, my ex-girlfriend in college was like, you should watch, and I was like, I don't want to. And then there was an opportunity for me to win money, so I immediately started watching.
Yeah, of course.
And I think I was the most invested one that entire season, and I was so angry that whole season. And I got into a Facebook argument over it because my cover photo at a certain point was the two side to sides of Paul losing both of their seasons back to back. And I got into an argument with someone about it. So that's my 30-second why I watched Big Brother, and I started watching on 19, and that's why I'm still here. So it's crazy.
So we watched the episode last night with my friend. His bigger issue in general was just how scripted it feels, like especially like the diary room sessions, like whenever people are talking, it's very much, and like that's what Big Brother is like.
Yeah, which I'll give this season. I think having Suri and like kind of Heisem. I mean, Heisem's a weird bridge where like it
Heisem's
seems like
exit interview. I was
laughing
also, the entire time.
Yeah, it's like he's
trying. So
he's trying to make it feel scripted, but because he's so bad at delivering it, comes across it's so funny. But like Suri, I feel is the realest we've gotten in the diary room in a long time. Like we went from Jasmine, and we're getting a little bit of that with Matt, with Red, the whole like putting on.
He hated Red last night. That was the one that he was really struggling with.
That's like the most scripted. Yeah, we're getting. Yeah, but hopefully people like Suri, like Jag, like some of these people are helping make it a little bit more sane in the diary room.
He did like die laughing when Jag came out and was like, "Hey guys, it's time for the veto meeting." He was like,
it was such
bad delivery.
Hey guys, it's time for the Vita meeting.
Yeah. But yeah, I think our friend is definitely he's a Survivor person more than and he's like I said, he's only seen the one season, but I think that's more, and he does like he enjoyed like the strategy. He likes that stuff. Like he likes watching the social game, the strategy game. It was just the silly competitions that Big Brother does and the diary room stuff, because he's not even like the biggest fan of like Survivor confessionals either, because they have that same fake quality to them.
I will say Survivor confessionals feel a lot more real than Big Brother confessionals, and I didn't realize until we just started watching Big Brother again and after Survivor, like so quickly after Survivor season, and I was like, oh, these do feel very scripted.
Yeah, it's gonna be super jarring when you're watching them in within the same week of each other. Like everything's all these shows are gonna be at the same time.
We're about to have the longest.
Oh my gosh.
We're about to have the longest season of our lives here at Recipe for Reality because we've never had to do all three at the same time. Never in our lives.
Yeah, and we're gonna have Golden Bachelor too, Zach. So we're gonna have 4 things.
We're
gonna Dancing with the Stars.
And 5 things. Oh God, there's not enough time. Anyway, Austin, go ahead. I'm so sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no, of course. But yeah, so we were talking about the pressure cooker to him last night when they said it on the show. He was like, "What's that?" And I showed him the old season. So yeah. So to answer your question, long way around to get to answering Dylan's original question of what did they do to distract them the first time. So there were basically a set of boxes in the middle of the ground. Whenever someone was eliminated, they would open a box and it would either be a prize or a punishment for either that person or for the rest of the people in the pressure cooker. The first box that opens, they open automatically, and it was flies. I know someone on the show at the end said mosquitoes, but it was labeled as flies. So whether or not it was just flies or flies and mosquitoes or what, but it was flies. And then the first 3 things that were opened were all so it wasn't anything bad there. And then, one of them was a martini bar that Bo won and proceeded to get drunk. So that was a punishment for everyone else.
Right.
But then I think Maggie opened a dead fish, or Maggie opened rotten eggs and Yvette opened a dead fish or something like that.
The smell, yeah.
So bad smells came into play. Yvette opened an air horn. So it was an air horn that went off periodically or maybe just in that moment. Yeah. But yeah, so there were definitely some, but I don't know how we'll get that this season with I don't know, we have the envelopes, but
gotcha. Yeah, I'm interested to see, especially because the envelopes are going to have to open in the dark, or are they going to go in order, but are they going to open it right there in the dark? Are they going to go back into the house?
I think my theory is that when they let go of the button, the light above them will turn on.
The single light. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that's true.
Because everyone has a light bulb above them.
Right.
And I remember in season 6, it was 2 light bulbs. Everyone's light bulb was red, and when you let go of your button, the green light bulb turned on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably how they definitely know if they let go or not, because that button is probably the only thing keeping that light bulb off. I didn't even think about it.
And the one other question I had about the last one, they were able, when they were out, they were still able to communicate with the people inside, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's also an element I think we're not going to get this time, it seems, because Felicia's inside, unless Felicia has access to go out, but it doesn't seem
think she
that
does. Yeah, I think at most she'll be able to come in to announce something. In season 6, they added the rule halfway through where you couldn't touch the box with your other hand. You had to pick one hand and stick with it. So I think eventually we'll probably get that rule again, where your other hand can't touch the pillar that your button's on. And that might be something where Felicia comes in to announce that change.
Deliver that news. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how long this goes. Because are they back?
We just have Mama Felicia.
Gotcha. I wonder how
I
long
still have
the
will be back screen.
I really wonder, because just 14 hours. I feel like nowadays with production, they can't let it go 14 hours. Maybe they could. Maybe that's the whole.
Oh, now. It looks like 2 people are gone.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But I can't tell.
I see her on the couch, looking at a camera. But okay, so she can watch it. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, she's watching
on
it.
The screen.
Okay. It looks like 2 people are gone.
I'm refreshing my screen to see.
I can't tell. Honestly, I couldn't tell you who.
Yeah, I'm not even getting Felicia on the couch right now.
It kind of looks like it was Jared and Suri because they were standing next to each other, and I don't
Yeah, it
see
looks like
her.
that back right corner, but it could just be the way it's angled. Everyone in the front's still in. Bowie, Cam, Red, I see. It's hard. We'll know soon because they'll definitely do a close up in a bit. But
You
I
know
only
what?
see
This
her
is
watching.
this is when we go to Twitter because they'll
They'll let us
tell
know.
us.
Don't tell
Yeah.
us.
Very
It's just
interesting though.
her.
Like I
Unless
love how
everyone
they're letting
else's
us watch
feeds
it.
look like mine on Twitter. I don't know why my TV feeds and my feeds on here are different.
Yeah. Also, there's probably a lot of traffic because this is the first competition we got to see with the feeds, and I'm so glad they're finally going back to Thursday comps because the past 2 weeks we've had to wait till Sunday.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I think that
Suri.
I think Sari and Jared are out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder because the way they're positioned, Suri, Jared, and Izzy are all next to each other.
Yeah.
And earlier, before you got on, Zach, even to start this thing, Suri and Jared were whispering to one another. I wonder if like they got to choose their positions or if they just lucked out because they were like whispering ear to mouth.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they just decided, you know what, we're good with everyone.
Oh, here we go.
If you're Suri, you can't let Jared win this because Jared, you don't want him to expose everything too early. I said this with the Scary versus Comp 2 weeks ago. If Jared wins that, he ruins everyone's game plan, but especially his own and Suri's. I think his best move is letting everyone else win because he's safe.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we're back and they have lights on now.
Oh yeah, the lights. I see it now. Okay, I'm finally back.
It looks like I think Suri is still in.
No, Suri and Jared fell. They're sitting on the side. Oh, so they get to. Oh, that's right. They have to wait until 3 people are out, and then they can leave the box. So yeah, from the middle, let's go clockwise. Middle is Nicole standing there, and then 2 empty spots for Jared and Suri were. Then Izzy. Then we have Blue. Then we have Bowie, Cam, Red, Corey, Chicken Jag. Matt is squatting, and then America.
Chicken Jag, you mother, you know water.
I'll play on my favorite season 1 and aka the only one I remember from season 1, Chicken George.
Okay. So if you also notice, in the middle, that's a pit of snakes.
Oh no! Oh, I hate that.
I kind of like this. When they said Scary Verse, I was like, oh, it's gonna be so gimmicky and sticky. But I like how they kind of took the Saw approach. Like I love how it's like they're trapped in someone's basement. You know, like I love the aesthetic, and I like now. This is something I want to talk about too, Zach. Before like earlier when I was talking about each house guest, but Matt, if you notice, there's a screen behind him, and I noticed when Julie was reading the rules, he was getting captions on the screen. So it looks like they're finally trying to like accommodate him better. Because one thing we didn't talk about, and because we watched this at the beach together, Zach, was the competition with the hearing and with him, scratching the discs.
That's right. We haven't talked about that.
And the outcome, for the first time ever, we only saw the top 3 scores, not all 6. And the obvious theory is that Matt timed out or had such a bad time compared to like Heisem, who did it in a minute, and America, who did it in 2, that they didn't feel comfortable showing his score because it was such a struggle for him because of his hearing. And I think that has been a big topic of conversation for the deaf community. Obviously, I'm hard of hearing in my right ear, so like I was obviously affected by all this news and stuff. And they released that article saying they were trying, but it wasn't really clear what they were doing. So it's nice to see that there were captions given to him in this challenge. But then when they shut the lights off, I was like, oh, great. So now this guy can't even make deals because he's now cannot read lips either. But I'm glad to see that the light looks back, at least for the time being. I wonder if after every button they add something else. Maybe that's, or with every.
Well, I'm wondering if what they went to black for was, I think maybe this might have been a situation where Felicia came in. And the lights came on, and Felicia, because if you remember when they started, there was a sheet covering that middle thing.
Yeah.
So I think Felicia came in and removed the sheet.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the snakes are why Jared and Suri are out.
Yeah.
I know Suri was on Survivor, but everyone who knows Suri on Survivor knows that snakes, rats, anything that can live underneath the leaves is not her thing.
Yeah, and Suri is the oldest one in this competition because Felicia's sitting out. So it could also be like, I mean, because they can't sit either. And Austin, were they able to sit in the last one in 6?
No.
Okay, so yeah, they can only squat. They can't kneel or sit. So that might also be it too. But Jared, I have no idea. Maybe Jared just thought it's best.
Oh, Jared, his one family visit was like he hated everything about being out there. So I would not
And then
be
he
surprised
almost
if he
played.
takes
And then he almost played. I
Yeah,
can't believe this.
He was
man.
originally on the cast for,
This
what was it, David versus Goliath?
David versus
David versus Goliath.
Goliath.
And then Davey took his place, which honestly, I'm glad because Davey's one of my favorites of that season, if not my favorite.
Dude,
was
this man,
Davey's
dude.
Davey needs to play again.
Austin, especially, I mean, we've sort of caught up with the week now, and I'll ask for your opinion on something else after this, because something that Dylan and I talked a lot about, both. So Dylan and I we were in the car when we were live streaming last week, and something that we talked a lot about was the quintessential decision to vote out Riley or to not vote out Riley. That is the question. And it's still something that we are pretty divided on. I mean, I've said my piece, especially about how I think that and this is something that's difficult, like understanding the games of Big Brother and Survivor, they're very different, but they still rely on the same thing at the end of the day, which is numbers. You need numbers in order to ensure that who you want to stays at the end of the day. And my standpoint is very much of the idea that keeping Riley over Cameron, who kind of sits in the middle of nowhere with just red and really has no like unwavering loyalty to anyone, maybe except for Heisem if things don't go the way that they were supposed, whatever it might be.
Felicia's asleep, y'all.
I know
she's nodding off.
As she should. And my opinion has been and kind of maintained, even though obviously it's long gone, the better move for specifically Cirie and Felicia would have been to keep Riley that week and grow their competitive numbers in terms of who could do well in competitions to ensure that they are still protected at all terms. Dylan, I believe, and has doubled down today on the fact that that evicting Riley was the right move for them, given the way that this
Heisem's guard. Yeah.
Right. Given the way that this week played out. My question for you is, where do you fall on that? We don't have much to go off of yet in this season. There's only been 3 evictions now, but that was kind of one of those quintessential moments of like, this really decides how the season goes for people or how it starts for people, because the first eviction is sort of like, whatever, we get rid of who's the easiest. But the second eviction is usually pretty telling, or a second eviction, third eviction, these upcoming ones are usually pretty telling of where like the power dynamic is going to be. So what we just want to know your thoughts on that situation, and kind of what would you have done if you were in that situation? What do you think the right move for whatever side of the house might have been?
Yeah. I think I'm going to take Dylan's side on this one.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it would go that way.
I think by eliminating Riley, it freed Matt up in a way that Matt wasn't previously freed up. And I do think Matt is going to end up being more of a challenge competitor down the road.
Yeah.
I think Matt is like, I don't think we've seen things necessarily that play to Matt's strength. I think this could be something that plays to Matt's strengths potentially.
He looks well positioned now. He's got his head resting on his arms.
Yeah. So I think getting rid of Riley freed up a lot of people for Cirie and Felicia to potentially grab and pull in. Like, I don't think if Riley's in the house, the 7 deadly sins are an alliance. Like, she does not have access. They don't have access as much to someone like a Jag or someone like a Matt, who both would have been very connected to Riley and stuck to Riley. And now they have access to these people because they've gotten rid of Riley.
And that's why we invite people to speak, because that's not something that I ever would have even thought of. And we've talked about this at length, Dylan and I, and neither of us have brought that up. Neither of us have thought even really of Matt as the kind of like key player in this. Like he is, and maybe that's really because of what we've been talking about. Like we kind of see Matt where unfortunately CBS has kind of lodged Matt, though hopefully they're continuing to grow outward and give him more of an opportunity to kind of level and middle ground with everyone.
And I also, along that note, I wonder, I wonder how much with the accommodations with Matt, how the challenges will proceed, if they will get more catered to his strength. Because like I think that egg one he would have been good at, and like it seems like the competitions are getting more widely accessible. Like the one competition you choose to introduce this season is the hearing one. I'm like, Like that's not like an OTEV where it's like, oh, we're not doing OTEV this season. The fans are outraged. It's like the fans wouldn't have cared whether you did that or not. But,
And the one thing
I'm glad they're going in the right direction. Hopefully,
the one thing I can give to them is that, of course, it was a veto, not an HOH. So that did mean that there was always a possibility Matt doesn't play it. However, that does not erase the fact that he always has an opportunity to. So it should always be of equal opportunity.
I gotta say, I loved Matt's eviction speech to Heisem though, in the goodbye messages. Like it was fun to see Matt get sassy because Matt has been very much kind of a focal point only around his disability and his Riley bond. That we haven't gotten a lot of like Matt as a game player, and like this was probably a little scripted, but I did love the whole like, you know, first you do this, second you do this, third now you go or whatever. Like I loved his little moment because it's fun to see him now that he kind of feels more comfortable in the setting to kind of like do the big brother thing.
I think my only issue potentially with not like issue, but like semi like eyebrow raise during that is I feel like the show didn't do a good enough job of like showing us those 3 strikes with Heisem, and it kind of just feels like, what's Matt talking about?
Right.
And then Blue too out of nowhere. Like we didn't
Blue just like friggin' hates Heisem out of nowhere.
Like, which I still love because it's like I just love the entertainment because Blue also we were talking about earlier, Zach and I, like she's never seen the show. So that's why she's also
definitely not.
That's why she's not even thinking it's possible that Jared would have a mother in the house. That's why she's not even clocking it. And that's probably also why she doesn't care about these goodbye messages. Because everyone else, let's be honest, Izzy calling Riley her bestie, like this is all in case there's a battle back probably. Like I don't think they're really thinking like I don't think Izzy's like, oh, that was my best friend, but like obviously
Felicia had a conversation earlier today with Heisem where she was like, please win the battle back.
Yeah, and it's
like
sad because
they're convinced there's a battle back.
Yeah, and maybe that's why they tried to flip it so that if Heisem does come back, Heisem would be like, well, you had to go with the house. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, hey, Suri and Felicia definitely wanted to.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I was at work just seeing the Twitter updates, and I just see Suri, like I get the notifications from like Big Brother daily tweets or whatever. It's like Suri and Felicia decided that they're flipping it again, and then it's like Izzy and Corey were like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the survivorness of it too. It's like you're there for longer time, so it's just like you're gonna go through all your options. It's just, maybe some of them could keep to yourself. But honestly, I think Suri's doing a good job. Obviously, she's in almost every alliance, which could backfire later, kind of like with Tyler and stuff. But like it'll surely get her probably to the jury phase. But Austin, who is who are you looking at as like the top contenders this season for you? Like in terms of winners and like. Who do you think are going to be the next few targets? Obviously, there are some that have already been thrown around, but
I definitely think had you asked me early on, Mimi would have been really high on that list. I think she's kind of suffered a little bit of it definitely seems like Suri and Felicia are targeting the floaters or the middle people, and they see they're not convinced that Mimi isn't one of them. I think they're wrong. I think Mimi is 1000% with that group and has done a really good job of proving that. But Suri and Felicia's level of paranoia won't allow them to believe it, which is the only thing that has me concerned with Mimi. If Mimi can convince them she's with them, I have high hopes for Mimi. I think we're going to be seeing people like Bowie Jane and Red going pretty soon. Like, I don't think they have like a ton of longevity in the game. I don't know. I definitely think the people that are in it for the long haul is that core group of like Suri, Felicia, Jared, Corey to an extent, Izzy to an extent. I know Corey's been really trying to pull America into all of this as well. So like I think that's probably the group we see go the distance, but I wouldn't count someone like a Jag out necessarily either. I think Jag has the potential to like work his way in. It's just a matter of how long can Suri be Suri? How long can Suri just do this and people not be like, y'all, should we take care of this?
And that's the thing about Big Brother that I think will kind of and we haven't done an updated winner ranking since Suri's reveal. And like Dylan said, Suri is his kind of like asterisk.
If it was
winner pick
confirmed she
now.
was on before the season, I probably would have picked her.
That's
Just 'cause
who he
also
would
I'm
have
blinded
picked.
with love. But
my thing, and I think, listen, my biggest thing, and the thing that we've talked about the most on here, is Suri's value as a Big Brother player versus a Survivor player. And we've even said tonight, Suri has done a really good job at acclimating herself in the last week alone towards the game of Big Brother versus her Survivor game instincts. That being said, right, my worry consistently is that, you know, and again, like, you have like Izzy and Corey, you know, you have Izzy who kind of will always be there. Jared, obviously, who kind of comes attached to Suri. He will not be, he's not going to flip on her anytime soon. The problem is, kind of like you said, Austin, how many times can you float around a flip-flop before people start to notice? And this could be something that like Suri just is great at. She continues to kind of offer up these ideas of like, hey, let's keep Heisem. Hey, let's keep Riley. And people aren't looking at her. People are not like, oh, that was Suri. In fact, people are more like, I can't believe that someone is doing this and that we don't know who it is. And it's like, how do you not know who it is? But go ahead.
Okay. It's the thing that's going to benefit Suri is that the game of Big Brother, you have to manipulate one person a week. And that's where I'm like, Suri could very easily at least get final 3.
Correct.
Like, she only needs to convince one person every week to not
that they are her person, that they're her person, and that if it's in their best interest to not get her out. Yeah. I 100% see that, and I 100% agree.
The only person in there that knows how good Suri is truly is Jared. Like, that is the one. Because, yes, Izzy is a super fan of Suri. It seems like Izzy did not watch The Traitors. I don't know if, like, that's...
I know, which is...
I don't think so. I think Corey's probably the only one to watch The Traitors, and maybe Cam?
No, I think Corey did not watch The Traitors.
Oh, Corey did not.
Cameron did, but Cameron does not. It does not seem like Cameron knows how that show ended.
It's not registering for him.
I think Cameron watched the premiere episode of The Traitors and knows Suri's on it, and that's it. I don't think he knows the extent to which Suri dominated that game, and I think Big Brother is probably a great mix of The Traitors and Survivor.
And she beat some of the best Big Brother players ever. I mean, she got Cody out.
Yeah. So, it's, to me, it's like this game is pretty well built for Suri to do extremely well. I think what we run into is, and we've seen it already, of like, there was a conversation today between Izzy and Corey of they know that they cannot sit in the final 2 with Suri. Like, it's going to be the Survivor thing that everyone runs into. If they get too close to the end with Suri and they're like, I will lose to her.
Yeah.
Like, everyone loves Suri, but no one loves Suri enough to hand her the win.
The only person who would be willing to hand her a win is
her
Jared.
Yes.
And the thing about Jared is that Jared sits in a very particular position as well. I think Jared is horrendous at this game. I think he's horrific. He's terrible.
Except for the fact that Izzy and Corey are both terrified that he will win jury votes in the end.
And that is the
most likable person in that house.
And that's the thing that keeps him afloat. But the thing about Jared, and this has been my sort of, again, my other big thing, is that Suri is an amazing player. They all know they can't sit in the end with her. It's going to be very difficult to kind of break away from everything if they don't do it at the right time, whatever it is. But to their benefit, Suri sits in that house with a ticking time bomb, and his name is Jared, and he's her son. And this is something, again, Dylan and I are very divided on in terms of like we have a bet. We have a bet that no one will know. And Dylan has said,
I said Izzy's going to be the last person to find out until finale night.
And my bet is this man will not be able to keep his mouth shut long enough. And we've talked about this already tonight. We saw it a little bit with Blue this week. His like, ooh, I have a secret. Like I've got, and the thing about that is Cirie can coach Jared, but she can't change him.
Yeah.
And there's going, I still firmly believe there is going to come a time where she's going to try and coach too hard. And this is, I mean, and it's sort of like what we talked about with like him sitting on the hammock with Blue. You know, you don't want your mom there. That's weird. There's only so many times your mom can tell you what to do before you get annoyed about it. You know what I mean? And that, like, I can understand if it was an Alliance member, you know, like if it was Felicia and she was continuously like, Jared, you have to stop. Like you have to like, and again, I don't think Cirie has done that lately, but as the numbers dwindle more and more and more, the problem they've also run into is this: Jared is not the immediate person. Like to Felicia, Jared's not her number 2. Felicia is Cirie's number 2. Or and same thing or Izzy. There's no register of Jared, and there's going to come a moment when that is going. Someone's gonna it's gonna have to be one of them. One of them is gonna have to make a tough decision of, you know, because it's only a matter of time before they get too far. And Felicia goes, "We got to get rid of Jared. Everyone likes him too much. We got to get rid of Jared."
And then Cirie has to decide between Felicia and Jared. Yeah, and she's always going to choose Jared.
And like you've said, Dylan, she's going to choose Jared. And like I said the last time we streamed, I think she'll choose Felicia because she knows that she probably stands a better shot at beating Felicia than she does Jared. Or maybe that will change. And maybe
I think it's
I think I can see both sides of this. Like I agree, but I don't think Cirie cares about beating Jared. Like I think Cirie or Jared win, that's a win for Cirie. So I
think she'd be willing to put herself on the line for Jared.
I think she chooses to keep Jared because Jared ultimately, we're going to get towards the end of this competition where a lot of these challenges become more physical. And the one person in this game who is going to win a final HOH and take Cirie to the end is Jared.
Correct.
And Jared can win that first endurance comp probably. If he doesn't, he can win the second comp or I don't know if he can win the memory comp, but like there's a physical aspect to that. And he's going to excel in the physical aspect of it. And then we've seen that Jared is social with everyone. Like everyone likes Jared. Jared knows a lot about everyone. He's going to be able to potentially do well. I keep forgetting that in recent seasons they changed that last challenge in the 3-part HOH to not be about how well you know the other players and how well you remember what happened during the season. So he might not actually do well in that one.
Yeah. Well, that's also an interesting thing because like Survivor, I feel like the last few challenges, like Cirie, the reason her allies, she has these great alliances because they know she's not good at Survivor challenges, so they can cut her at the end. Like, you know, the problem with this is like, if she can win part 2 of the HOH, I think part 3 is something she can
part
easily
3.
win.
Yeah,
that's the thing. She can't win part. I mean, she could probably win part 1 if she's up against maybe Izzy and Felicia. If Izzy throws it, like she could beat probably Felicia. I mean, that's the thing. Cirie, I think we like to think she's not good at comps because of Survivor, but Big Brother comps are different. I mean, I know she's the first one out of this one now too. So I don't know.
I also was reading on Twitter. She was telling America, apparently like America is like putting her shirt under her hand on the button or something, and Cirie was saying that that's what she was doing, and she thinks that's what got her out of the competition because I also love Cirie cursing. Like I never knew how badly I needed to hear Cirie Fields drop as many F-bombs as she has this season. But she said I didn't effing lift my hand. So Cirie does not agree with being eliminated from this challenge.
Gotcha. So it definitely wasn't a willing drop.
Also, Corey, let me just say too, if I was to not follow my heart and I was to pick with my head who I think has a really good shot at winning this game, it's Corey.
Yeah, I agree.
So really quick, let me just say conversation between Corey and Jag taking place in the pressure cooker. Corey says, "Do you think they are aware that we are playing the pressure cooker?" Jag says, "Who?" Corey says, "The snakes."
I love Corey. This is what I told Zach in our last episode. We were on a car ride recording. I told Zach I expect him to be a game bot, and that would honestly hurt him early. He's been so good socially to where I think his social game is even better than his strategic game. His strategic game has had some flaws here.
His social game is
so good. I mean, the fact that he's the one wearing like the funny outfits on the week Jag is the chicken, and they spend more time on him wearing Blues outfits than Jag as the chicken, says a lot about how well he's doing socially.
Ingrid said something tonight when Corey went into the diary room. Ingrid was like, "This is like the 25th time Corey has worn the same outfit. He's always wearing the exact same clothes every day."
There's something we haven't brought up yet. Zach, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is something that I said, and I talked about this last episode. It was the thing that I brought up in our cast assessment, and it's why Corey landed so high to me. And it was my big thing of like, and Austin, one of the things, I don't know if you watched their preseason interviews and stuff like that, but what bothered me about a lot of people's interviews, like I remember it being Bowie Jeans because it was so immediate, and her whole thing was like, I don't have a plan. If you think that you can have a plan going in, you're fooling yourself. And that was an immediate turnoff to me because it showed me that you haven't thought enough about what kind of game you want to play. And so Bowie Jane went low on my ranking. Corey was someone who went super high on my ranking because he had 2 plans of action. He said, I want to win the first HOH and establish some power. If I don't, I want to be the 21-year-old kid who everyone underestimates. And I want to play into that. And he played, and not only did he went from the worst possible position. He wasn't in the house he has been in that house, technically speaking, I guess not anymore because of the second week. But like going into that second week, he had been in the house for less time than everybody else had, solely based on the fact that he was gone for even the 15 minutes. And he managed to come back, be in the best case scenario. And then in that second HOH, he was like, I don't want this. Why do I want this? I
wouldn't be surprised to see him throw this one too.
And that's my thing is that, like, I think, and Dylan, then you can go on what you're going to say. Something that I love is that, and when we were talking about it, I mean, like, Corey is Zach's brother. We all know this. They have not focused on it at all. They haven't really even mentioned it. They've never mentioned
the
Zach
Instagram has, but the actual show has not.
But something that I love is that it proves how the two of them, Zach going on Survivor kind of like, it's funny. He's the first boot. Haha, very funny. But what it proved is that, like, I think everyone who knows enough about how he played on, how he was on Survivor, everyone kind of had that expectation of Corey, like, oh, the Wurtenbergers, like, they don't know how to play these games, like, blah, blah, blah. But Corey came on and he showed, not only do I know how to play this game, I'm going to make sure that I get far enough in it. I'm going to make sure that I position myself well because either I'm going to have power or I'm going to need to make sure I'm around the people who have it. Comes into the first week and goes, beat you, Zach, and then has faded not like into obscurity, but he's a deciding factor for a lot of these votes, and they're not looking at him. They're looking at, they went dark again. Sorry, they just shut the lights off again in the pressure cooker. But they, people are not looking at Corey. And this is someone that Suri, like, right away, Suri was like, he's talking too much and he knows too much about me. And she has just kind of wiped him off her radar, which I think
Corey is Suri's biggest blind spot.
That's my thing. I literally was just going to say, I think he, at the end of the day, he's going to be the one that slays that dragon. And Peridium, I don't know, Austin, if you watch Peridium, but I know Dylan and I both watch Peridium. Peridium just did his Contenders for the Crown, and there are 2 people tied, flip-flopping, and he said he only went with one with his heart because of what it is, and they were Corey and Suri. And that, to me, is one of the coolest things because it shows that even up against literally a legend in these games, Corey is one of the only people who, at the audience, knows has the savvy and the wherewithal to say
who were his so cool. He normally does 4, right? Who were his others? I haven't gotten checked.
It was America and Jared.
That makes sense.
And then Mimi was like a close 5th.
Mimi was 5.
I will say too, I think, and I love Peridium. I watch all the videos too. I think he and a lot of people are severely underestimating Felicia.
I agree.
I think there is a serious universe where Felicia wins this season, and I
agree.
would so be here for
Yeah,
it.
well, because they're probably looking at her, the hardcore fans here in the house, like America, Corey, they're probably thinking of her as the Jerry, the old person who's going to be, someone you take along to the end and then cut at the end. But, like, she might not win a final HOH, but if you're sitting with Felicia and Sari, you're probably thinking, let me get out Sari because she's the Survivor legend. You're sitting next to Felicia. Felicia's probably still going to beat you. And I think that's where Felicia and Sari being together as a duo is going to be nice because it's like,
And
one of them could probably really come out on top if one falls.
And what
very
Felicia is so good at that none of them have seen yet is just like what we saw today on the episode. She got Heisem in a room and she told him, and then she said, "Now talk. How are you feeling?" No ego. It was, we were building a cat tree. I looked up from building and I was like, that was unfucking believable.
Yeah.
That was so impressive.
The way Felicia talks to people without them like feeling some type of way about her boggles my mind. Like week 1 when she just flat out goes to Riley and it's like, so who's in your alliance?
Yeah.
And Riley's like, let me tell you everyone in my alliance, girl.
And it's almost, it's a Sari game. Like she's playing kind of a very Sari game, but a little bit more forward. Like I think the two of them, that's why I love watching them work together because they kind of are very similar in how they approach the game, which is nice,
But again, who's Felicia's blind spot? Corey. And that I think is going to be their biggest hurdle is they have identified America, but they've identified America as the problem for keeping Corey. Mm-hmm. They haven't identified America as like a problem because her and Corey are a strong duo. And I said it earlier, and I know I keep repeating myself, but Austin's here now, so I can repeat a little bit. Corey and America have done the amazing thing. They're both super fans of the show. They said, we're not getting in a showmance. And not only are we not getting in a showmance, we're going to tell people that we're not in a showmance so that they know this is not a duo. This is not a duo. This is not a pair. This is, we're individuals working. We just happen to have like a connection and we'll see if it blossoms outside. But like neither of them are looking. And Corey, I think it was funny. I think Jared said to him like, America's kind of cute. And he was like, yeah, she's a little too old for me. And I was like, what a baller.
Really funny, really well socially. And that can transition to my next point, which I'm sure Austin will have thoughts on as well, which is this new power, which we haven't even talked about. It's been an hour, 16 minutes. The power of invincibility, which is essentially the road trip and the coup d'etat mix. So it's like America's giving all the power to one person to use a road trip on someone else in the next 2 evictions. This is basically them saying, we lost Luke and Kirsten in week 1. We need an extra week before jury, and we're not doing a battle back. So someone's eviction is not going to happen. And I think this is an interesting way to do it because it plays into multiple aspects. A player has to decide, do I use it now or do I hold out another week, knowing next week may not be the optimal move. It could be this week. It kind of leaves you with that dilemma. But having 2 weeks to do it instead of 1 gives you less ultimate power. Like if it was just a 1 week power, that's too easy. But now with this extra week, it kind of adds a dilemma to the person who's using it to where it's not a given. There's a competition too. It's not like the coup d'etat where they're just giving it to Jeff or America's Player where they're just giving it to Dan and 10. Like they're giving the 4 people who get the most votes a chance to play. And it's America's vote. So it's really going to come down to the people like Corey, like we've said, who's been charming the hell out of the viewers to vote for him. Because like right now, if I want to see anyone get it, Sari, because I love her, but also Felicia, Corey, like these are the big characters that I enjoy. Not the big characters like Red, who seem a little fake to me, or Bowie, who's great personality, but just not in it enough. But like,
is Bowie on this show?
Bowie's still on the show.
Oh, okay.
Who is that?
Yep. This is Snot Fair. That was my favorite line from the Snot competition. It's not fair. But yeah, like
this is not fair.
I would love to see that, but also like a lot of people on Twitter are even saying like, why not just like make the game interesting and let Red, Cam, Jag, and like Blue compete for it and see what happens. Like I think it would be very interesting. I don't think it will happen, but like if Cam or Red got it, because then because they're inevitably gonna be targets within the next few weeks in some respect. So like this is a really interesting dynamic, and I want to hear from you both. Like, who do you think is the front runner to like get voted in? Do you think it'll be as simple as like the top 4 on Jokers, like Matt, Jag, Sari, Corey, America, like that handful, or do you think there's going to be some shock to who gets picked? And do you think this is going to actually like have a big effect on the season, or do we not think so?
I think that for sure. I mean, I'll name the 4 that I think we'll see walk in. I think for sure we'll see Suri. I don't think any Survivor fan wants to see her walk out, so I think we'll see her for sure.
She'll compete for it.
I think we'll see Felicia. I think people love Felicia. I think they love watching her. I do think we'll see Corey. I think Corey has a great online fan base. It's a little bit different than the actual like casual fan base.
Because you got some Survivor fans too with that.
Right. And then I also think the 4th spot is a little more difficult. I do think there's potential for a Matt. I think there's potential for Jag. I think there's potential for, I'm looking at
America.
them right now in the dark. I think there's potential for America. I think the people who I think it's easier to name the people we definitely won't see. And like, we won't be seeing a Bowie Jane in there. We won't be seeing Cam. We won't be seeing Red. We won't be seeing,
Mimi.
We probably won't be seeing Mimi or Blue.
Or Izzy.
I think that the biggest toss-up is going to be who walks in, Matt or Jag,
or Jared,
because Jared has Cerise's people, but I think also Matt and Jag have the more casual side of things where they just watch people just watch Riley go out. Those are
I think definitely Matt for me over Jag will be like if I think you're right in that it'll be Cerise, Felicia, and Corey. I think those are almost 3 locks. And I think that 4th spot, in my opinion, is probably a 50-50 between it being Jared and Matt.
And the only reason that I think it might not be Jared is because even though he's pretty much a guarantee that Cerise doesn't walk out the door, his fan base online is minimal. He might get some of the casuals who watch and some of Cerise Survivor people, but the thing is, like, they can only vote for one person most of the time, and or you can only split your votes whatever a certain amount of ways. And I think
they'll
people
just put
would
it for
rather,
instead of Jared.
Right. I think those people would rather definitely watch Cerise walk in over Jared. But people like Corey and don't want him to go anywhere.
Is there the universe though where actually, because it leads to a competition, do we see people picking Jared instead of Cerise because they think he can win the competition?
Right. Because if you put, honestly, I think as long as it's not like a mental thing, I think Matt is likely the favorite to win a competition like that. Matt or maybe Corey. But Corey himself hasn't really proven himself in competitions, probably because he's been throwing them. But it also depends on what the competition is. And then the utilization of it, I'm interested to see. Is it going to be after the eviction? You have been evicted, just kidding? Or is it before the vote is read? Or is it before they even vote? Probably before they vote is read, because they probably have to vote first and see.
It seems like, I was just going to say, it seems like it acts the opposite way of an Idol and Survivor, where they find out they've been evicted. Someone can make the choice to use this power.
So like the Panama Cook Islands.
It's like a super idol.
Yes. Idol, yeah. Mm.
And the other thing that will be interesting to see will be, is it an anonymous power or is it a public power? Because the other thing is, if Jared decides to, let's say that Jared gets picked and he wins and Cerise goes up on the block and she goes home, does he risk saving her that night and exposing them as a duo and kind of opening the door for things to be said? Or does he wait and save himself so that he ensures the spot hasn't been blown up? They still get to maintain his position in the game, whatever it might be.
Oh, I think he would definitely use it regardless. I don't think he'd be worried about exposing. I think I'm
more just saying in a possibility, the fact whether it's public or private makes a big difference, because I think he probably does use it either way, but I think in a private scenario he definitely uses it. You know what I mean? He definitely does.
I don't know how it would be private though. If it's like you stop them before they exit the door. If it's like they exit the door and then the next morning they come back in, or is it like
you could
because
also
with the road trip they went out with Julie and then they opened it live with them, picked out the envelope, and it said you are not going back in or you are going back in, and Paul had it, so we never saw it. So I believe, or was it before they walked out the door?
So it could also, I think it could also be they walk into the diary room to cast their, if it's someone who's not nominated, they walk into the diary room to cast their vote. Matt, I cast my vote to evict so-and-so. All right, would you like to use your power tonight if someone is evicted? Yes. Who would you like to use it on if they're evicted? Jared. Okay, thank you. They go in.
Yeah, but then like if it's a nominee, do they then have to just say just kidding if they get a like? I think this could be interesting either way. The one thing I don't think they'll do is I don't think it'll be a coup d'etat where Julie says there is a power in the house called the power of invincibility. If you have it, please stand now, because that's what happened with the coup d'etat, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's Jeff! He stood up." I don't think they'll do that, but it would be interesting if they did. But I just don't think they'll.
I lean towards it potentially even being a like pre-eviction thing. Like maybe it's not something we see happen, but it's like the person's pulled in the diary room before eviction night starts and they're like, hey, like if Sari gets evicted, do you want it to be like activated? Yes or no? If option B is evicted, do you want it to be used? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. And also keep in mind that only matters for this 1 week because the power says it has to be played. So if they don't play it at this first eviction, it automatically cancels next week's eviction.
Yeah, which then could be a lot of power if you do tell your alliance, like, hey, this person's not going to go home. So let's get 2 of us on the block and see where the loyalties of everyone else lies. This could be a really interesting bargaining chip.
That is
someone like Corey who's trying to figure out who's with him, who's against him, or even
that's the strategy of Matt from Big Brother 12, right? They put him up on the block and he spends the whole week being upset that he's going home and trying to get people in the brigade to tell him that they're going to save him over, I think it was Enzo that week or Lane. And they're all like, hey man, sorry. Like it was going to have to happen at some point. So it's better it happens now. They like dish out all this information to him. And then he stands up at the eviction night and is like, I'm not going anywhere with this really poorly made diamond power of veto because it falls apart out of his pocket. So it's one of those things where like it'll be interesting to see how it gets used because they clearly have more planned for this season than just that. I mean, I can't imagine a world where there's not a jury battle back. How are you going to fill 100 days of this season with double evictions and normal? Like we'll clearly see a jury battle back, but this will be interesting to see, like, does Matt, like, let's say Red wins this week and he puts up, Jag and Matt, neither of them win the veto, but one of them wins that power. Let's say it's Matt. Does Matt make the decision to say, because that's the other thing we don't really know. We don't know then what happens. Is that then the eviction is just like it's null and void, nothing happens, and it's just a regular another week?
Yeah, it's because like the reset button, I think.
Okay.
That's what I gathered. That's what I gathered because this is taking place of if Kirsten goes week 1 and Luke doesn't get expelled, this is just keeping along schedule. So now it's like we have to have 3 more evictions before jury, let's say. So like one of the 3 or one of the first 2 has to be canceled so we can have that third, basically.
Right.
And then I think we're in jury, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because we need, 9 votes? 9 votes? So they've got to be at 11.
Yeah, I think 11 jurors.
So we need 2 more to go because we're at 13.
Yeah, so it's going to be either someone goes and then someone doesn't go and then someone goes, or someone doesn't go, someone goes. That's how it'll be. So one of these weeks is going to be null, but like I hope it still leads to fun stuff because the problem with the reset button, it was Final 5, so like no one really cared at that point. Whereas now it's like it'll be more interesting, hopefully, because it's earlier in the game and it can switch stuff up, and it's not all too powerful like the coup d'etat. Like you're still voting someone out, someone's still going to feel betrayed. Like it's not giving so much power. It's like an idol. It's like a Big Brother idol, basically.
I'm curious, slightly changing topics here.
Yeah.
Curious to ask you guys, and I'll give my opinion too on here. who has like surprised you guys the most from preseason to now? Because I know I personally me and my fiance have a whiteboard in our living room that doubles as our Disney movie rankings, as we've been rewatching all the Disney movies and ranking them, as well as it always holds all of our drafts that we do for these shows. So I can like look at the board and I can see who I picked last on my team. And who I didn't pick at all. And I would actually say last on my team and who I didn't pick at all both have skyrocketed in my, like, if I were to do a power ranking. So
right.
To see who it is.
Who are those people, Austin? Or
So
do you want to answer first?
For me, our draft between me and my fiance came down to the last two people picked were America and Matt.
Oh, cool.
And I took America, and Matt went pretty much Matt went undrafted.
Wow. Okay.
And Ingrid got Matt by default because I got first pick.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So when just going back and forth, I picked America, and then she was left with Matt. And like we were saying earlier, I'm extremely impressed with America. Like, I think she's one of those like high contenders. I think, especially if I used to say, I don't feel like I can say it as much anymore because I think more recent seasons of Big Brother, it's kind of shifted away from this. But specifically with Big Brother 20, I called in the middle of week 1 that Casey was going to win that season. I had zero doubt in my mind. Halfway through week 1, I was like, that's the winner. I was like, it's someone who's in that majority alliance that's going to steamroll game. They're not the biggest threat. Like, they're just going to sit back, do nothing for the first half of the summer. And then towards the end, they're going to turn it on and win. And I feel like that was like what we got out of winner after winner after winner after winner leading up to like 20. And I think in the more recent seasons, I mean, I think you can even kind of make that argument for Cody in All-Stars 2. Like, he had other people doing his bidding, but I think Cody is still more of like a figurehead of his alliance, in which a lot of those earlier winner, like, I really thought, this is a hot take. This is one of Austin's biggest Big Brother hot takes. I truly thought we were going to see Holly win Big Brother 21. I truly was like,
from
Holly
at the finale or from the beginning?
Different moments throughout.
Yeah.
And especially,
I agree.
Even when it was very clear it was gonna probably be Holly and Jackson in the final 2. Like, even then, I think part of it was also just really not wanting to see Jackson win. That I was talking myself into a Holly win.
Yeah, I talked myself into a Nicole win for that reason. I was like,
oh my god,
last comp. Forgetting
she was
that
like
she's
the
not
quintessential Big Brother winner of like, she didn't do anything, but like,
that's so true.
Was always in the power and just like got there, and at the end won a few things to get herself there. I think in the more recent seasons, like, I think that argument does not apply to Taylor Hale.
She's
that
got
argument
the most unconventional
semi applies to Xavier. Like, I think you can make the argument it applies to Xavier. Like, I think you definitely see Big D or Tiffany as like the figurehead of the cookout. Like, you don't see Xavier, you don't think cookout and immediately say Xavier was the leader of the cookout.
I mean, it definitely happened with Josh.
Yeah, like Josh. Yeah, Josh is one.
Ian. Yeah.
It's a very like. So I would say that, like, I think America and Corey fit that mold here.
Yes.
Like, if we are going back to that, of like, that's now, are we gonna get back into a lull of those winners that kind of just like are able to, I don't like the term floater. Not that I think floater is like a bad term, like a lot of people are like, floating is not a good, like, I think it's a completely viable strategy. But I think the term that I like, that I've heard a lot, I think it was probably even from a Peridium video potentially, where he talked about the difference between floaters and coasters.
That was Peridium.
Yeah, I think those two are people who are going to coast, and I think those are the people who win, are the coasters.
Yeah, I agree. So by that analysis, Bowie Jane will be the winner of Big Brother 25.
All right, not someone who's useless, Dylan. Not someone who's done
Bowie Jane is no longer in the Power Alliance, and I think that's what's going to set this season apart from other seasons. Because of Suri, we don't know what the Power Alliance is. Like, we have the 7 deadly sins. So if we assume that it's one of them and that's the new Power Alliance, maybe you can come up with something. But Seven Deadly Sins didn't exist last week.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and who's to say they'll even exist next week?
Next week, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
So
mean,
it's hard to make that analysis here because the only person in every alliance is Suri.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, by that nature, maybe even Jared is that person who like kind of just coasts along. I don't know, because Jared also hasn't been great in comps, at least not the first few. But okay, so to answer your question though, biggest surprises,
biggest surprises
in both senses. Corey is my biggest surprise, and someone I was like, I jokingly told Zach in our preseason rankings, I was like, I'm predicting him as the first boot as a joke because
of Zach.
And I honestly thought, I was like, I think he's going to annoy people off the bat. And he did for like 20 minutes, or 20 hours maybe. Like the first day, even Heisem didn't like him. Like he wasn't.
Oh my God, Heisem hated Corey.
Yeah, they hated each other.
And had no reasoning.
No reasoning.
Like, I don't like
but
him.
I think he's really turned on his social game really well and really assimilated himself well. The person in the opposite respect, I still think Jared is going to do well in the game just because of his positioning. He's been a little sloppier and just less likable. But I wouldn't say he's like my biggest disappointment. If anything, it's maybe Jag because he was my preseason winner pick. And only because I don't really see a path for him to win now to where I think he's just a little too passive. He won the veto, yeah, but like I just don't think he's ever going to fully not be a backup target in a similar way that Cam and Red are, but like Cam and Red are, once they're gone, I think Jag is going to be someone you see as like we need to get rid of Jag now, just because like he was a backup. If Heisem somehow wasn't, like if Heisem got picked for the veto and won, it was going to be Jag most likely. So like I think Jag, just by nature of Heisem kind of putting them against that side with Riley, and I think Suri and them having a soft spot for Matt, I think Jag kind of will take the fall before a Matt or a Blue do, especially with Blue being in the showman. So I'm not disappointed in how Jag's playing, but I just never expected him to be targeted this early, I guess. So he's been the one where I've been like, oh, I wish he had coasted a little bit longer before being brought up. But Matt has been a great surprise too. I thought he was going to do really well, and I liked him from the beginning, but not so well to where like everyone has him number one of the fan polls above Suri, so I'm very happy. Corey's been top of a few of them too, but like I'm really happy to see Matt.
I'm still surprised. Like it blows my mind anyone's beating Suri in fan polls. I mean, it's not my personal choice. Like, I mean, honestly, actually, I probably would say Felicia. I would probably rank Felicia above Suri personally. Like, I love everything about that woman.
Today,
and I have since. Like this was bold of me, but I was worried I wouldn't get her if I waited too much longer. Felicia was my second pick on my team for my draft.
Valid.
I picked Jared because I knew if I didn't pick Jared, Ingrid was. Like that was made very clear to me.
Yeah, it's not Survivor where like the older people go out early anymore. Like we've seen like Cliff was Final Four. Like Tiffany, who I don't want to call an old person, but was the oldest person of her season, made it to Final Six and was a figurehead of that alliance. To where like nowadays I think being older helps. If unless you're Frenchie, like that is a big thing.
we don't talk about him though.
I didn't really quick because I didn't talk about my disappointment or disappointment person. Mine would be Heisem. I had extremely high hopes for Heisem from those preseason interviews. If I were to have made like a male winner pick that wasn't Jared, and like I don't even know that I would have necessarily picked Jared, it would have probably been Heisem. Heisem's interviews were some of my favorite, especially on the male side of things. Jag was up there too. I enjoyed Jag, but I had really high hopes for Heisem, and I was really disappointed to like see how he came off to people in those one-on-one and group conversations.
Zach and I both had him lower. Like I actually think I don't know if I said third boot, but like I said he reminded me of Andrew Gordon.
I think you might have.
He reminded me of Andrew Gordon for Big Brother 12, where like he comes across really smart, but I just didn't know who he would fit in with, to where I thought he'd be an early boot. But the thing is, he did surprise me in the fact that he played a much different game than I expected. I didn't expect him to come out so strong, be this kind of comp beast villain type player. I just fully expected him to be like, just a little out of the loop. And it was kind of the opposite, where he was so far in the loop that he took over it and dictatorshiped it. So that's a good pick, because he could have been a great player. But
I have my personal, like me and Ingrid both made like draft lists so that we could do a quick draft. So just really quick to run through those. My number one pick was Jared.
Mm-hmm.
And that was partially
Pre-Suri.
like, obviously you want Jared.
Is that pre-Suri or after you knew
Pre-Suri. So we did this before we did this the day that like cast was officially revealed. We watched all the preseason interview things, and then we did this. And I had to put Jared number one just because I knew she would pick him if I didn't.
Right.
And I wanted him. So mine were Jared, Felicia, Nicole, Heisam, Cameron, Blue, Luke. I had a hot take on Luke, y'all. I really actually had high hopes for him. Izzy at 8, Red, Jag, Corey, Kirsten, Bowie, America, Matt, and I had Riley at 16 out of 16.
Gotcha. So
I had
Riley.
zero. I did not have high hopes for Riley, and she did impress me to what I expected from her.
Right.
She just said
she wasn't cut out for that. I mean, honestly, I think she would do great on Survivor too. I really think she might be more equipped for that. I just think sometimes the game moves too fast for some people.
I think Riley would do really well on the challenge.
Yeah, I think Heisman would too. Yeah.
I also think that Riley does better if she doesn't win week 1 HOH. I think if she is not the person set in power that first week, she has a different place in this game. And, you know, it really comes down to to decisions. Like if Jag wins that first HOH, Jag seems a lot more savvy at the game than Riley ever was gonna be. So kind of being in that first HOH position, I mean, she doesn't become a target. The only reason she was a target of Heisam's is because Heisam had this high belief that she was the one who divided the house, and it wasn't her who divided it. It was really like them, like just the natural divide between old and young kind of divided as a whole, which happens.
It wasn't one person. It was just kind of a group.
Can y'all tell what Izzy is doing in this competition right now?
She's dancing and snapping.
She's dancing to the beat of her own drum, dude.
Yeah, because flute, Zach.
I turned up my volume just to see if I was like missing something, but I am very definitely not missing any type of noise.
I think it's also hard because like they can't sing, or earlier they were discussing their favorite movies. I was worried they were going to tell them to stop because I don't know if that's like copyright. But Zach, who's your biggest disappointment and biggest surprise?
My biggest disappointment.
I'm so glad we have Dylan here to keep us on track.
I know, thank God.
This was just me. Would be not on track.
We would just never stop talking about it, to be honest. I think my big thing is like I could.
Sorry, Izzy's just cracking me up.
I know she's really going for
everyone
it.
Everyone else is so still. Bowie's moving a little bit.
Yeah, Bowie's moving.
This might be a mad advantage, honestly, that he could just tune her out.
That's what I mean, man. I think my biggest disappointment it's still not Riley, because I do think that I think that is less of a disappointment and more of a matter of circumstance. She's not that first HOH, and also if Cameron's not there, it's again a very different game because he did a lot of the heavy manipulating of her in that first week. I did have high hopes for her in the preseason, which makes me sad. But
Ingrid did too. Ingrid was really high on Riley.
My two biggest disappointments are honestly he wasn't my winner pick, but he was someone who I felt very good about, and it was Red. I got great vibes from Red in the preseason. I thought I loved his energy. I am so disappointed that he is in the worst possible spot because he's playing safe with one person instead of trying to find a majority. Yeah. And he's enough of a fan that he should know that the majority is found, or the success in the game is found in the majority, especially early on. Yeah. So to see him kind of not navigate through that is a huge disappointment. But on top of that, I said to Dylan in preseason ranking, my hope for him was to partner up with the other person who has disappointed me the most, and that is Jared. I think Jared is, I said it, I just don't think Jared's a good player of this. I think Jared is very much benefited by the fact that, well, actually, something that I've said a bunch on the show is I actually think I would love to watch Jared compete on a season where Suri's not here, because I would love to see how he actually navigates without a secret, without something huge and impressive to tell people about, Well, and that's my thing is that part of me thinks he does worse. Part of me thinks he does better because he doesn't have that like immediate security in Suri. But I had such high hopes. I loved all of his preseason stuff. I thought he would be so good at the game. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna get yourself and your mom voted out of this house, aren't you? The flip side, someone who is doing so much better than I ever could have hoped, and it was really because we didn't get to see a lot of their interview, was Blue. I thought Blue.
I had high hopes for Blue. She had like so minimal interviews, but everything she did give, Ingrid hated her. Ingrid did not like Blue at all in the preseason. I was like, I like Blue.
And that's my thing is that there was so much room for Blue to be bad that the way that she's and like people are very annoyed with her goodbye message tonight. I loved it.
Oh no,
it was,
I'm not annoyed. It was just kind of random, but I love it.
Oh no,
it was jarring. But
I was gonna say I'm not talking about us. That's like peak kind of Big Brother, like someone who's taken it a little personally. She's and what I like is that she had such a harsh way of words, but then at the end was still like, hope to see you outside of this house, but not too soon. Which like to me again says like people were like, her and Matt can go, and I was like, her and Matt cannot go, you idiots. Like this is what you want. You want like high pressure cooker, and like this is something that I think Blue's gonna stay on here for a while. I think she knows she's not in like the worst position, but she lost her. She's one of the only people who's lost an ally that she wasn't prepared to lose. She knows that at the end of the day, like in a situation, is she in Seven Deadly? Is it her? No, like
wait, Austin, who is it's
Suri, Felicia, Jared,
Jag, and Blue.
Oh, Blue.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Blue is in Seven Deadly for sure.
Matt,
Corey,
Matt and Corey.
So it's not America, but it Izzy, isn't it?
Not America, but like
here I just found it. Seven Deadly Sins is Felicia, Izzy, Suri, Jared, Blue, Jag, Matt.
Okay, yeah. So it's Riley's three closest allies with Felicia, Suri, Izzy, and Jared. So with the leftovers of
the professors, but not Bowie Jane. But like that's her thing is that like she knows that like again it's really great to have this alliance, but in a situation where like numbers start to dwindle, she's on the bottom. So she's got to make sure that she's in a position where like she's not going home this week no matter who wins. She has impressed me the most. Corey has fulfilled my expectations, which I'm very excited about. And then Matt too. I think Dylan and I said like there's someone in here who's never watched an episode of Big Brother in their life, and it was Matt. And you know what? Like Matt and Blue, yeah. I don't think Matt necessarily has done the best socially, given his disability and like given what he's able to do. But what I do think he's done really well is he's connected with people in a way that he doesn't need to be super social with them to keep them on his good side. Yeah. And after losing, I mean, like earlier in the week, people were over him. They were so frustrated with him. They were so like, his like shrine to Riley or whatever it was. People were annoyed. They were like, you barely knew her 2 weeks.
One person was annoyed. It was Heisem, but he tried to make everyone else annoyed. But yes.
But like the thing is like Matt so clearly plays like with his heart first, which is so exciting to see.
Oh wait, did you mean people as in like people watching like on Twitter?
Oh no, I meant people in the house, but also people on Twitter a little bit.
Because I didn't really think he got. I thought Heisem was the only one giving him hate, but maybe there were more.
Heisem gave him a problem. I think like Heisem might have said something around like Felicia or Suri or Izzy. Like
Izzy probably made it all up. Like yeah.
I love Izzy. She's hilarious. She's gonna get herself in trouble. She's gonna get herself in trouble.
It was weird to me to see how low Izzy was in popularity rankings like early on. Like I remember looking at the Joker's rankings and she was like 16 out of 16 or 17 out of 17 even.
Until the Luke thing, yeah.
And people hated her solely based off the fact that she was a recent fan, which I think is just such a dumb reason to not
I think
like a player.
another thing that got under people's skin, and I get why this did, was there was like those first few days she kept going around saying that Cameron reminded her of a serial killer. And I don't think people loved her saying that another house guest was a serial killer, because that's kind of that's kind of extreme.
Her read was pretty spot on, though. If we're
not
gonna be
serial
honest.
killer.
I will say
but icky.
What is surprising to me is I found an alliance and deals chart on Twitter, because I wanted to see, because I've been hearing a lot more about this new alliance that was made today that I think is gonna, like we were saying, 7 Deadly Sins didn't exist 2 weeks ago, but it exists this week. What I think is going to replace it is this new For Real alliance.
This is Corey in it, right?
Yeah, that's the one with Corey and America. America, and it's basically Corey America and Nicole replace Matt, Blue, and Jag in 7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting is there's so many of these alliances that include Felicia, Suri, and Izzy. But Felicia, Suri, and Izzy don't have an official thing as a trio.
No.
Suri has a trio with her, Jared, and Izzy. There's the Brown Sugar Babies, which are that's Suri, Felicia, Jared, and Mimi. Yeah. But there's no official anything of those three. But I feel like those three spend so much time together and talking. It's weird to me that they don't have an official thing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because Zach was saying earlier, he's about the divided house, having 3 separate sides. But I think that's what we're kind of coming to, where it's Jag, Blue, and Matt on one side. Then you've got Red and Cameron on the other. And then in the middle, you have Suri, Jared, Izzy, Felicia, Nicole, America, and Corey kind of on both sides. Oh, did someone let go? The lights are back on.
Nope, no one let go.
Okay, right. But there's 7 people who are kind of wavering
so far
around.
ahead of me. I don't understand why. It's annoying. You said the lights are on. I'm like, is he still dancing in the dark?
But yeah, it's really interesting because I really just don't know who are the targets this week. Really, I mean, I guess it comes down to who the HOH is. But is Cam and Red just the default plan, and then
probably I would assume
think that's what it seems like.
And America as a potential name to throw around,
I assume if 7 Deadly Sins wins,
it'll
Matt
be Cameron Red.
Win. It's Bowie, Cameron, Red. Right, probably Bowie. The targets.
Shit, Bowie, I forgot about.
Yeah, and then I think I think same thing if For Real wins, but I think if a Mimi wins, there's the world where Mimi targets a Jag, Matt, or Blue.
Yeah,
but sure. I don't see an America or Corey doing that. I think Mimi's probably the only person in For Real who puts up a Jag, Blue, or Matt.
Yeah, Mimi's interesting.
Then I'm sure Suri is just no, just do Cameron and Red.
Yeah, Mimi's so interesting because I feel like she's in it, but she's always out. She's outside of it, but she's got a hand in everything. But she's not dictating anything. But that might be the best move for her. Because no one's thinking of her as a target, which is good.
Well, they did.
They did
for a second.
As did
3 times in a half hour. That was the most stressful night of my life.
That was very stressful.
When they were trying to decide whether or not they were still going to put up Heisem, and they basically ended the conversation as Mimi going up, and I was like, "Whoa, hold on!"
And you're like, "Why are you doing this?"
It was one of the worst reads I've ever seen Suri have.
Yeah,
Suri was Mimi left eating with them, and Suri was like, "That was awful. She didn't look me in the eye." And I had watched that whole conversation. I was like, Mimi is saying all of the things she needs to say. She's doing such a good job in this conversation. And she left, and Suri was like, nah, she's got to go. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And that's my thing with Suri, is that there are those moments where in a Survivor world, someone would be going home that night and they would have made, they can split the vote 4 different ways. They can do whatever they want. This is one of those things where Suri makes these big, bold claims in these weird situations, and you're just going we don't need to do all that, girl. It's not as deep as that needs to go. And she just
I also wonder though if like this is normally what happens in Big Brother. It's just Suri with the Survivor experience is more used to talking it out, whereas other players like it's always across their mind of exercising every option. We just don't hear it as much. Like I wonder if that's just the case, or if it is strictly a Suri thing where she just puts everyone as a target in her brain. But clearly it's working though, because that was the thing, Zach, when we last talked in person, she was doing that, and I was also kind of getting a little worried, and you were kind of making a point that she's being sloppy. But now a few days later she's in every alliance, so like it's sloppy, but it's clearly working. Her social game is just must be that good to where
It is just
even
that
if she
good.
throws out everyone,
It is just that good.
game, everyone still wants to work with her. I think that's just the power of her as a person and a player, and I think that's why Jared is ultimately okay, as sloppy as he is, because she's always going to whip him into shape. And the only thing is, yeah, Zach and I were talking a little bit before you got on, Austin, but like the blue factor, like, is there going to come a time where Suri has to sit Jared down and say, we got to get out Blue? Or is Suri going to keep Blue in to keep her son happy? Or is she going to go behind his back and get rid of her to keep her son all to herself? There's like three options.
Does she pull the like Aussie blindside in Micronesia on Amanda, where Jared's Amanda in this situation and Blue is Aussie? Like, is that what happens?
I don't know. They still work together. So
yeah, I mean, I totally think there's a world in which Suri could do it. I don't see the world in which Suri lies or keeps anything from Jared. Honestly, no. Like I don't see that world, but I think she very easily could get anyone other than like a Matt or a Jag to put Blue up and send Blue out the door. Like I think she can take that shot at any point and it not have any of like that's the thing. What I was saying earlier, where like Suri just needs to manipulate one person a week. It works out in Suri's benefit too. Of Suri can get out whoever she wants every week, and the blood never be on Suri's hands. It'll always be on someone else's.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of like the Paul game, except it's not a condescending, demeaning way of doing it.
She's never gonna call someone the C word and not apologize for it in the vote in the jury Q&A.
The nastiest she's gotten is when she's like, he's not in love with mother effing Blue. Like that, but that's also just the
lost it last night. When I tell you I was watching it, I was like, oh my gosh.
Speaking of Suri, not in love. Really quick before we carry on, and I don't know how much longer this is gonna go, honestly, because like if they do go 14 hours, honestly, Zach, we could come back in the morning and still get on at 8 a.m. if they're still on. But I did want to share this. Oh, Cameron's staring at the camera. That's scary. All right. Speaking of scary, I took the screen grab in the dark. This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Suri looks so silly in this competition. What is she wearing?
So dead. I don't know. It looks like a puffy vest with a hood, but over her hair, so it looks like it's one of those.
I think she's wearing.
Is he behind her?
I was gonna say, I think she's wearing the like under the eye, like dark circle pads. Like she's trying, like she's wearing like a moisturizing pad.
Yeah, like she's in the spa. I think one of the things I wanted to mention earlier, because I saw it while we were talking, I was watching the feeds. I think it's really interesting that whenever the lights go out, it seems like Suri takes that opportunity to like talk to Jared.
Yeah.
Like, I think she is like, no one can see them. She's pulling him in and she's like saying everything. Like, they are having, and it sucks that we're missing it because like it's in this setting and it's quiet, but like this is the one opportunity that outside of Felicia, and I don't even know, theoretically, do we know if they know Felicia can see them? Because that's also like potentially
she can see them.
No, but do they know? Do the players in the competition know that Felicia can see them?
So. I doubt it.
I don't
because
think so.
What if like Suri and Jared like had like an embrace or like a kiss on the cheek or something, and Felicia like that's a wild thing to think about too. I don't know that Felicia is paying the most attention.
I don't know.
I know she went and cleaned the house for a little bit.
I also want to know, do you think when the lights go, like, could they go talk to other players too now that they're out? Like, once they leave this box,
Suri was definitely walking around. I don't know.
I wonder if they can come back once they leave the box, like if they could just stroll in. Because if that's the case, Felicia could probably just walk in. That's where I want to just know, you know. But
I think once they leave the box, they're out of the box.
That's it. Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing is they want to be. It's just like they have to wait for 3 people to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And something that's also interesting that we haven't even thought of the possibility of yet is when let's say, right, Suri and Jared are out, Felicia's in the house. Let's say that like Nicole drops next. All 4 of them are in the house. That's the brown sugar babies, right? That's them as a 4. That's time to talk.
Yeah.
That's time to and I don't think, this is one of those things that like being HOH is such an enticing power, but I know that we all want like the fans in us kind of want like the like we want them to all watch, we want them to all be like trapped outside so that they're forcing guy, come on, let's go, like we want to go inside. But then also like this adds what I like, which is another element of strategy, right? If Jared and Suri drop and then Nicole drops and they go inside, what happens in Izzy's mind? Right. Izzy all of a sudden is like, oh shit, like
they're talking.
I'm not there and they're talking and that's time, but I want to win this HOH. And
that's what we see. You see that a lot in early seasons of Big Brother with like when they used to do that first HOH of like, I'm thinking specifically the one that comes to my mind is Big Brother 6. Funny enough that we're seeing Pressure Cooker, but like I'm thinking like that surfboard competition where that one set of people is on the surfboard and they decide to like quickly pick who's going to win HOH so that the other half of the house isn't just alone strategizing. Right. They're like, we got to like wrap this up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's going to be one of those things because there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 11 people who got to vote tonight. So that means that
there's 12 people in the competition.
So if every 3 people go back in the house, there is going to be 2 people in there, there's going to be 1 person in there with the last 2 people.
Yes.
They will not get to go back in. So that's the other thing is that like that group of people who's in there, that's like a unique opportunity for them because the other thing is like the whole house could be watching or the whole house could be like going about their business, not knowing how long this is going to take.
Yeah.
And that's going to be another factor. Like, this is when someone like a Bowie Jane with a Jag and or like an Izzy, like the 3 of them there together, like sure they're all trying to like kind of fight for something different. They want to be safe, but like what happens when Bowie Jane doesn't realize that like the professors really isn't a thing anymore? They got rid of Heisem because they had to, but like, in her mind, like she shouldn't have a problem. Heisem being gone made sense. The whole house wanted Heisem gone. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to leave this as kind of like my last thought, and then y'all can wrap up whatever you need to.
We've been here 2 hours, and I think this is going to go along. I wasn't sure because of the like scary side of it if it was going to be like
accelerate the time.
Yeah, like 2 hours, but it does not seem like that's the case. And I think because that's honestly, I think Big Brother wants people watching the feeds. Like new people watching the feeds.
And this is the best way to do it. Reality BBQ #BB25 tweeted an hour ago, and I just like this is my final thought. We're at the 1 hour. We're at the 1 hour mark with all house guests still in the competition. Hour 1 updates. Felicia has cleaned around the kitchen. Matt is struggling to communicate because he can't read lips in the dark. Corey untied his shoes. Suri, Jared whispering. And my favorite thing about this post, Cameron is annoying.
Yep, I saw that one. Yeah.
Someone also said that apparently Corey said that America's voice was annoying in front of everyone.
Oh, no, it was Jared. Jared said it. Jared said it, and no one laughed. He's like, man, your voice is annoying, and everyone just was silent.
Yeah, Jared's funny. In not the best ways. Yeah, Felicia, I'm surprised she's still awake here. I'm watching the quad view now just to see what Felicia's up to. She's literally just watching. And it looks
no, she's not. Her eyes. Oh, never mind. Sorry, I forget that I'm behind you guys.
I think she's like
her eyes
at
are
her
closed.
Yeah, but like she's just literally just standing there biting her nails, watching this. Oh, okay. So I see this close up on the snakes. That's a lot of snakes. If you hate snakes, that's probably awful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like this is gonna go on forever. So we'll wrap this up. But yeah, any last thoughts just on like the season? Any other thoughts on Pressure Cooker? Who do we want to win this?
I kind of want Matt to win.
I'd love to see a Matt win. I'd also love to see an America win because her name was kind of thrown out a bit as a target, to where I'm hoping if she wins, she can get some real trust with like
easier for me to list who I don't want to see win.
There you go. So
like I think I'm pretty much cool with anyone winning that's not a Red Cameron Bowie Jane.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not opposed to it because it definitely is going to like flip the house on its head. Like those are the easy targets, and we always it's within Big Brother fans' nature to want or not want a boring season when the people you dislike are the ones making it boring, and then wanting a boring season when it's the people you like making it boring.
Right.
And this is one of those seasons where I feel like a vast majority of us like the people who are making it boring.
Yeah.
I definitely want like a Matt win. I think that would be interesting. But I will say, like, in the color theme, a red or blue win would be hilarious.
Bowie Jane win would be insane.
I would like to see someone win that's not like in Cerie's immediate good graces, because I know she's in an alliance with everybody, but like I would love to see Cirie do her work with like a Red or a Cameron when Red or Cameron is like, I want Jared and Felicia out. I want to put one of them up on the block, and I want one of them to go home. What happens? So those are the two people she really can't have go home. I want to see her put work.
I want to see Cirie work her magic. I get that too. Yeah. So yeah, I think honestly, there's not really anyone I don't want to see win. I know Felicia had made a comment earlier. Let me see if I can find it again really quickly, where Felicia was kind of predicting. She said, Bowie Jane ain't going to make it. Red ain't going to make it. Cameron ain't going to make it. It's going to be Blue, America, or Mimi. So based on her watching, she thinks those are the three people that look the best.
Yeah.
And 46 minutes ago, Felicia also said, "Man, Mimi ain't moved. You go, Mimi. I think you might be the one."
I'll be honest, if I had to put money on anyone, it'd probably be America, only also because A, she's not in that core, but also B, I don't know if y'all heard earlier this week, she shared a story about, because they were just talking about competitions.
I did hear about this, yep.
She did this contest where she had to keep her finger, it was like a phone contest where there was an app with a button and you kept your phone on the finger on the button.
Yes!
She lasted 48 hours or something like that, and she came in 13th place, which means someone held out even longer, but she's clearly got
which means 12 people on longer than
the big difference to keep in mind of that, though, and obviously, like, she still does have like some relative experience.
Right. She got to move.
She was able to eat. She was able to go to the bathroom. She was able to do all these things. Like,
yeah. Well, that's the part I'm most looking forward to seeing. Hopefully, either watching back the feeds or when I wake up in the morning if they're still on, or in the episode is like people were peeing on themselves the last time. Like they didn't want to lose. So I'm interested to see that kind of stuff when people get tired and sweaty and they pee and they're miserable and they're angry.
I was too young during Big Brother 6 to actually watch it live, so I was actually unaware that people peed on themselves.
Gotcha.
In Big Brother 6.
Mm-hmm.
I thought people were just able to hold
people it. Have done it. People have peed on Big Brother for less.
On the wall.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
on the wall.
Mickey has peed for less.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting. Jag looks like he fell asleep on his button, honestly. No, he's moving. So yeah, this is interesting. Obviously,
it was really funny in the dark. The little thing on Jag's head was hitting the light bulb.
That's funny. Yeah, Izzy looks like she's like now listening to a song in her head because she's like emoting to it, but she's not moving her mouth or anything. It just looks like she's kind of like emotionally reacting to something. But yeah, Felicia's about to zonk out, and I think I am too. So we're gonna wrap this up. But Austin, thank you so much for joining. It was actually a surprise. I didn't know you were coming on, but it's been awesome just to talk to you.
Yep.
Also, outside of the stress of LCA player mod.
I will. I've told Zach this in the past when Zach talked about getting you to play LCA and all that and everything, and I did my research on you myself. I told Zach I'm happy to come on anytime. Just let me know. This is me and Ingrid have discussed it for a while. Just it never took off. We never actually did it, but I've always wanted to do something like this to talk about reality TV. So I'm always game whenever.
Of course, and you're so knowledgeable. So thank you. It was fun, and it was just cool to just chat with other people too. Because Zach and I are so like, our opinions are our opinions, but it's always fun to like open up to other views. Because like, I feel like
100%.
I'm always gonna be seeing.
I love
Team
getting to decide between which one of you's right. I love to just say Zach's wrong all the time too. Like
That's
was
fair.
I got to just take your side every time. Like Zach's opinions were so wrong. It was great.
Well, Austin, you can't get vote swapped out tonight, but where can they find you if they want to vote swap you?
Yeah, plug your socials, or
where can they find you on socials, on everything if you want. Or nowhere if you want to tell them.
Yeah, no, I mean, mostly I'm not a poster. I'm mostly a follower. I have Twitter or whatever you want to call it at Austin Wilson 96. Outside of that, yeah, there's not much to really follow with me.
Yeah, but check out LCA, good. Everyone. If
definitely check out LCA.
That's what I will plug more than anything else.
Right.
On Facebook, Survivor, Lights, Camera, Action. We do different seasons themed around movies, TV shows. We haven't done any TV shows yet, but it is on the horizon. So yeah, we are currently in the middle of our Survivor Encanto season. We've done Jurassic Park and Middle Earth were our first two. Season 4, our second chance, our first returnee season will be National Treasure themed. And then season 5 after that will be my personal passion project of my favorite TV show of all time, which is Once Upon a Time. Will be season 5. So yeah, a lot of fun, exciting things on the horizon. And season 5 will be open to new players. So anyone who is watching that is interested in the org world, wants to dip their toe in. Survivor, Lights, Camera, Action on Facebook.
Yeah. And if anyone has questions, Austin mentioned his Twitter, but also Zach and I are here. So if we're ever live streaming again, you have a question, you want to ask about that, we'll be happy to answer it. Zach's gone through the whole motions. I'm halfway through it, so I'm
halfway through.
You think you're halfway through?
No,
you're like a third. You're like a third.
Hold on. Give me a second.
Day speaking versus tribal speaking is always different because I feel like it goes quicker at the end.
The season will be over in 3 weeks. He's at the end of week. Tomorrow he is at the end of week 2.
Okay,
and there's 3 more.
Okay, so 2/5
almost halfway.
Almost halfway.
2/5 of the way.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Austin, for being on here. Zach, obviously your socials are mine are there. People can see us all over the place. Watch Zach in the free for all on Monday. He will be competing in our Marvel trivia free for all, so go check that out. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.